Someone has seen to it that the snowshoes, they are beyond repair, and now quite useless. Mademoiselle, the battery, it will not last forever. Turn off the radio to conserve the power.
Even after a rescue train arrives, that avalanche will take some time to dig through.
Mademoiselle, observe. The lid, it is secured with 4 nails. I am afraid something more substantial must be found to open this crate. The door is much too sturdy for such methods. The train's baggage and freight manifest.
This crate looks like it was once secured with a padlock. It's empty now. These goods are being shipped. They do not belong to anyone currently on the train. These items do not belong to any of the passengers. I will not compromise the train company's reputation by disturbing them without a good reason. This contains nothing that would be of use to me. These cases contain food for our journey. I hope there is enough to last until we are rescued. It looks like these contain vegetables, which comes as a bit of a surprise considering Klaus's penchant for flesh. Food for the journey. I will not disturb it. I don't want to risk Klaus's temper. The nails were loose. Peculiar. Well, what do we have here? I'd better put the lid back on for appearances. It's a makeshift bed. But who could possibly be using it? It looks like someone had a meal here recently. Crime et punition. Géographie européenne. Introduction à la science. Interesting selection. I've heard of this honey. It's reported to be quite good. The spout fits perfectly. The valve prevents it from pouring until turned. This spout fits just as well as the first. I filled the tumbler with vinegar. I filled the tumbler with olive oil. I can't take that now. Vinegar would spill all over the place. I can't take that now. Olive oil would run all over the floor. I don't need any more vinegar. I don't need any more olive oil. Salonika olive oil. A keg of Greece's finest. A keg of white wine vinegar. Belgrade. This will be a brief stop to take on supplies, mail, and to add the Athens-Paris coach. There will be few, if any, passengers in this weather. If I go that way, I may find myself helping to couple the Athens-Paris coach to the train. Belgrade Station. Not quite the splendor of Sirkeci, but it is practical and serves its purpose well. The fountain looks rather forlorn in this weather. Locked, as I'd expect once the Athens-Paris coach attendant and any passengers are on board. The architecture of the station is unremarkable, to say the least. The attendant I saw boarding the restaurant car came through this gate. I suppose that woman was seeing him off. The engineer and fireman are keeping the steam well up. The baggage and freight are stored here, barely protected from the elements.
Mademoiselle hopes to carry the cast in her pocket, perhaps. But surely her body heat would melt it. Unfortunately, the batter in its solid state no longer fits in the mixing bowl.
My body heat will melt it. I must find something to pick it up with.
Throwing yourself from the cliff would not aid Poirot in his investigations, mademoiselle. The student of crime gives up on the case so easily? Mademoiselle, observe, if you will, the 400-foot precipice you are about to step over. Reconsider, s'il vous plaît. Take care, mademoiselle. The snow, it may overhang the precipice and give way beneath you. Not at all like the handkerchief found in the room of the man who was murdered. The notorious scarlet kimono in your bag, mademoiselle.
Well, of all the nerve.
Mademoiselle, you already have his teeth. What more could you desire? Ah, a single pipe smoker aboard, and all roads lead to him.
This looks like a dead end. Those clouds look ominous. So many paths. It would be easy for me to get lost out here. The view from here is breathtaking. I'm not sure what I expect to find wandering around out here. Miles from civilization. Perhaps it belonged to a shepherd. An antique stove. I haven't seen one of these in years. I can't loosen the pipe with my hands. Princess Dragomiroff's parasol.
I fear the padlock. It is far too sturdy for the hammer. One of the bars appears to be quite loose. Would you not say so, mademoiselle? Mademoiselle, the tracks that you follow end here at the hut. You have reached your destination. The most generous of kidnappers. Are all your belongings restored to you? The most generous of kidnappers. It appears that all of your belongings are restored to you. Mais non, the key to the security room of the baggage car is missing. What is this? A second pass key? So, The mystery of how a murderer may pass through the locked doors, it is now explained. It is secured somehow on the outside. Oh, the gap in the bars is too small to crawl through. Perhaps if you found something to stand on, you could see more from the window. It is far out of your reach, mademoiselle. But there is nothing for the parasol to hook. A hut out here in the middle of nowhere. A shepherd's hut. Probably only used when the snow it is gone and he brings his sheep up to the high pasture.
Sterling silver, of course. It looks delicious, if a bit on the heavy side. An empty bottle of olive oil, and one that looks like it contained vinegar. Loaves of bread. They smell lovely. I believe they are sacks of flour, good for thickening sauces. And judging by last night's sauce, Klaus will get through both sacks before the trip is through. Such a cramped kitchen! I can't imagine how Klaus puts up with it. I'd better close this. I wouldn't like to waste fuel.
No, the snow. It is much too deep to cross without the snowshoes.
A street market has sprung up around Sirkeci station. The market offers brightly coloured handmade goods, and the air is filled with the scent of exotic foods and spices. Vegetables from the surrounding countryside, carrots, potatoes, eggplant, and okra. This merchant sells Iznik tiles, famous for their beauty the world over. He appears to be quite taken with the view of the Bosphorus. This stall displays intricately hand-painted Tayyip bowls. The merchant seems to be watching the man next to me closely. This cart is piled with sacks of lentils, bulgur wheat, couscous, and chickpeas. The Bosphorus, one of the great waterways of the Orient. Barrels of olive oil, molasses, and fruit preserves. This stall sells knives and cutlery of all kinds, even razor-sharp scimitars, fine hand-woven carpets and rugs. They look as if they truly might be able to fly like Aladdin's fabled carpet. Fine hand-woven carpets and rugs, buckets of dried figs, apricots, dates, raisins, and mulberry. St. Sophia, Byzantine architecture at its most magnificent. Once a Greek Orthodox church, now a mosque. There are plans to convert it into a museum in a few months. Sirkeci Station, one of the most beautiful in all the world. Every time I come to Sirkeci, its beauty leaves me speechless. It is almost difficult to believe such an astounding structure serves as a train station. The Gare du Nord pales in comparison. Furniture and household goods, all handmade with outstanding Turkish craftsmanship. Pottery and artifacts from Mesopotamia to India and beyond. Although I've heard some objects are made by the school locally and sold to the tourists as genuine treasures. Pottery and artifacts, some of questionable origin. Boxes of tea from Turkey and Ceylon, herbal teas and thick, dark Turkish coffee. Sirkeci Station's main entrance. Every time I pass through these doors, I feel the call of adventure. Sirkeci Station's main entrance. Marble floors, barely worn by the feet of thousands of passengers. Intricately painted scenes from Turkey's past adorn the windows. Sirkeci is more than a train station. It is a work of art, all its own. Royalty, the rich and famous and infamous, have all walked these halls. Sirkeci Station was built in 1890 so that passengers could arrive and depart in luxurious surroundings worthy of the Orient Express. A beautifully crafted mosaic of a ram in full gallop suggests the power of the locomotive's engines. A hawk soaring in flight suggests the speed and gracefulness found in the Orient Express. That door is the gateway to all of Europe. Posters of Istanbul's attractions welcome arriving passengers. I packed so quickly, I hope I remembered everything. The Orient Express. Supplies for the train so that passengers will have every comfort. Passengers' baggage. I confess I've always wanted to peek inside, to share the lives of my fellow travellers, but I doubt I'll ever have the opportunity. Passengers' baggage. I wonder what secrets it contains. The Calais coach. This sleeping car will carry passengers in pampered luxury to Calais, France, where they will embark to England. I'm sure he won't mind if I just borrow this for a moment. I need to remember to return this. Well, I'll just borrow this, but I must return it promptly. I do not have time to browse. I must get to the station. Antoinette, you cannot steal the poor merchant's wares. What am I thinking? I cannot simply walk off with someone else's property. A fine way to start out an adventure, stealing from innocent people. That isn't quite what I'm looking for. The merchant is watching that man quite intently. What is that goat eating? I'm not sure what those boxes contain. I'm not sure what those crates contain. There must be grain in that sack. There. None the wiser. There. No harm done. Something belongs here. I, of course, know what.
A word of caution, mademoiselle. The tracks, they are certainly easy to follow now, but the weather, it remains uncertain. Snow and wind could erase those tracks in a few seconds. How will you find your way back to the train? If it were Hercule Poirot, he should find a more permanent way to mark the trail.
The Athens-Paris coach. All looks to be in order from out here. The restaurant car. I can smell roasting meat from here. The Calais coach. With the exception of the one window, it looks quite normal, although recent events suggest otherwise. All these doors are locked, as per Monsieur Poirot's instructions. The woods look menacing and dangerous.
No, there is not much you can do to the tree with your hands, I think.
This wash basin is shared by the two connecting rooms, every need provided for.
Remember, mademoiselle, you are the intruder here, not the wolf. It is senseless to harm the creature.
The gunshot seems to have frightened him off. What was that? More noise? What is going on here? I should look for the items Monsieur Poirot needs to read the burnt scrap of paper. Goodness, it seems to have gotten extremely cold in here. The heat is now restored. Now on to the matter of murder. Things are progressing well. I'd best not lose any momentum. Time to continue the investigation with all haste. Colonel Arbuthnot, I do not believe we've been properly introduced.
I expect the formalities must be winked at in a case like this, mademoiselle. The attendant told me you are acting on the Frog detective's behalf.
I am the Frog, monsieur. Hercule Poirot is Belgian.
Apologies, no offense meant. Your accent's a bit of mid-channel, difficult to pick up.
May I have your passport, please?
Of course.
Colonel Francis Gordon Arbuthnot, the Mews, Cheltenham, Royal Northumberland Fusiliers, currently stationed in India.
Yes, on leave.
But you're not travelling on the P&O boat? Why not?
I stopped in Baghdad with the AOC, who happens to be a good friend of mine.
Where did you meet Mademoiselle Debenham?
Miss Debenham? What, in Baghdad, if you must know.
And your opinion of her?
You can take it from me, she's all right. A Puka Sahib.
Can you give me an account of your movements last night?
Yes, I think I can. After dinner, I had a drink in the salon car with young MacQueen, the dead man's secretary. Surprisingly knowledgeable about world affairs for an American, even if he had got hold of some tomfool ideas about India. We adjourned to his compartment, let me see, at around 2100. That's 9 p.m. You saw us in the Belgrade station courtyard. We stepped out for a bit of fresh air, but with the weather turning foul, that wasn't on.
What do you and Monsieur MacQueen smoke?
MacQueen doesn't, now that I think of it. A pipe's my weapon of choice.
What happened after Belgrade?
Around 2200, that's 10 p.m. Ratchet's valet came to fetch him for his employer. He went off for a while.
And what did you do after Monsieur MacQueen left you?
Well, I went back to the salon car for a nightcap, didn't I? I was heading to my compartment when I ran into MacQueen. Went off back to his room again to continue the natter. I put him straight on India. Learned a bit about the American stock market. Bloody fool's game, if you ask me. Oh, pardon that is to say, my language.
Do not concern yourself.
There, you see. Now I can hear the accent. It comes and goes.
What time did your discussion of world affairs end?
The conversation was so engrossing, by the time I looked at my watch it was 1:45. MacQueen called the attendant to make up his bed. I came back here.
Did anyone pass Monsieur MacQueen's room while you were talking?
A good many people, I should think. I wasn't paying attention. The attendant did at one point, and I think I caught a glimpse of you wandering about.
Let us say during the last hour of your conversation.
Really, I can't.
Colonel, you have the soldier's observation for detail.
Hang on. There was a woman, I think.
Was this woman young or old?
Didn't see her, wasn't looking that way, just a rustle and a scent.
Mademoiselle Debenham?
No, I'd recognize. That is to say, it wasn't. No, it was very strong. Fruit or something.
Can you pinpoint the time the woman passed? What were you discussing?
Let's see, I was detailing the other washout. Stalin's 5-year plan was turning out. It must have been within the last half hour. More definite than that, I can't say.
Have you ever been in America?
Never. Don't want to go.
Did you ever know a Colonel Armstrong?
Armstrong. I've known 2 or 3 Armstrongs. Selby Armstrong. He was killed on the Somme.
I mean the Colonel Armstrong who married an American woman and whose only child was kidnapped and murdered.
Ah, yes. I remember reading about that. Shocking affair. Never actually came across the fellow, but his name came up in the officers' mess, of course. Toby Armstrong. Nice fellow. Everybody liked him. Distinguished career, got the V.C., Victoria Cross.
The man who was killed last night was the man responsible for the murder of Colonel Armstrong's child.
Then in my opinion, the swine got what he deserved, though I would have preferred to see him properly hanged, or electrocuted, or whatever it is they do over there. Trial by 12 good men and true. Sound system.
Anything you can recall from last night that strikes you as suspicious?
There was one odd thing.
Yes?
As I got back to my compartment, I noticed that the door of the one beyond mine, number 16, well, it wasn't quite closed. The chap inside peered out in a rather furtive sort of way, then quickly pulled the door. Probably nothing in it, but you know what it is. Early hours of the morning, everything very still. The thing had a sinister look, like a detective story.
Thank you, Colonel Arbuthnot.
Not at all. Now, if you don't mind, I think I'll pop along to the salon car.
Don't let me keep you.
You mean to say you intend to stay in my compartment?
Yes.
And search through my belongings?
I'm sorry, but I really must.
But that's... it just isn't. That's bloody irregular. Pardon my French. Well, had a good rummage through my kit, I expect?
Yes, thank you. There is still some information I think you might be able to give us.
Indeed? I hardly think so.
Is that pipe cleaner one of yours?
Don't know. I don't have them monogrammed.
You are the only passenger aboard this train who smokes a pipe.
How extraordinarily fascinating.
That pipe cleaner was found by the body of the murdered man.
And what does the amateur detective deduce from that?
Can you tell me how the pipe cleaner came to be in Monsieur Ratchet's compartment?
Haven't a clue.
Did you go into Monsieur Ratchet's compartment at any time?
I've never even spoken to the man.
You never spoke to him, and you did not murder him.
If I had, I should hardly be likely to acquaint you with the fact.
Ah, well, it is of no consequence.
Oh?
Monsieur Poirot has told me he can think of 11 excellent explanations of its presence. Not now, when it's all over, when it's behind us.
Is that a quote?
Mademoiselle Debenham said those words to you at Sirkeci station in Istanbul. Tell me to what those words referred.
Why don't you ask Miss Debenham?
I have.
And she refused to tell you?
Yes, she told me that they referred to a private matter of her own.
Then I should accept her word for it, if I were you.
I will.
You have nothing whatever against her.
I'm sorry, but you're wrong. We know that Mademoiselle Debenham was governess in the Armstrong household at the time Daisy Armstrong was kidnapped.
The devil, you say?
If Mademoiselle Debenham is innocent, why did she conceal the fact?
I have no idea, but your suspicions are utter rot.
Why did Mademoiselle Debenham tell me she had never been to America?
You better ask her. I still think you are wrong. You're making a serious mistake.
I think it is you, Colonel, who have made the mistake.
I will not answer any more of your ridiculous questions. This is all nonsense. You'll not get another word out of me. See here, what do you think you're playing at?
I'm comparing your shoes to a cast I made of a footprint.
Oh? And where did you find this footprint?
Outside Monsieur Ratchet's window.
Oh, well, carry on then.
I have everything I need to read the paper.
That is most pleasing.
Who is that? I will radio to Barnaby.
A wise decision, I think.
I will ask the Countess the name of the Armstrong cook.
The Countess has lied to us most shamelessly already, I'm afraid, mademoiselle. No, I think young Barnaby could better serve us here.
I will not ask the Countess the name of the Armstrong cook. I will radio to Barnaby.
A wise decision, I think.
And that is everything I've discovered so far.
We progress, mademoiselle. Now, let us see what we can learn.
And that is everything I have discovered so far.
We progress, mademoiselle. Now, let us see what we can learn.
And that is everything I have discovered so far.
We progress, mademoiselle. Let us see what we can learn. Ah, your return. Is there more to report to me, mademoiselle?
Ratchet was already dead when those were delivered. The murderer returned to make certain Ratchet was dead. The murderer had unusually long arms. Ratchet thrashed about as he was dying. A left-handed murderer could easily strike there, someone striking with their eyes shut in a blind frenzy. Perhaps the killer was uncertain at first, then overcome with a bloodlust. Could there be two murderers?
Ah, your return. Is there more to report to me, mademoiselle?
His menu seems to overemphasize meat dishes. The butcher, it suits him. Klaus seems even more temperamental than usual today. Worse than avalanches and murder, veal and potatoes. Why does this not surprise me? What do you know of Klaus's movements last night?
Ah, your return. So is there more to report to me, mademoiselle?
It occurs to me, in spite of everything, that the murder may not have to do with the Armstrong case at all. We have much evidence pointing to the existence of an outsider aboard the train. One who disguises himself, uses stilettos to kill, then vanishes into the snow. What do you think? Or he could be out there in a frozen snowdrift or lying broken at the bottom of a rocky ravine. The body may never be found until the spring thaw. I enjoy the investigation, monsieur. I certainly do not enjoy the fact that a man has been killed.
Eh bien, mademoiselle, a very complete report. Let us see where we stand.
There is so much to consider.
It is often so in the investigation of a crime, mademoiselle.
We can't afford to lose our chef. I'd better find his missing bacon before I return to the warmth of the train. Antoinette, you are responsible for the passengers' well-being. Look for Klaus's bacon. Like it or not, I'd better find the bacon for tomorrow's breakfast. Locked, locked, locked. If I go that way, I may find myself helping to couple the Athens-Paris coach to the train. Locked, as I'd expect, once the Athens-Paris attendant and any passengers are on board. The attendant I saw boarding the restaurant car came through this gate. I suppose that woman was seeing him off.
I would have thought you'd had enough of gazing at the corpse. There is nothing more the body can tell us. A morbid fascination with the dead is not healthy, Miss Marceau.
No, you must examine the body for yourself, I am afraid. But Dr. Constantine can call to your attention the most important points.
What was burnt and why?
Précisément.
Not cigar or pipe ashes. Burned paper.
Précisément.
But the paper is impossible to read.
It is possible that some of the writing on the paper can be made legible again if the scrap can be protected, flattened, and held firmly in place while the heat is applied. I will need something with which to handle the paper most delicately, 2 objects of metal netting that we can place it between, and a source of constant heat. Collect for me these items, and we will see what we shall see. It is possible that some of the writing on the paper can be made legible again, if the scrap can be protected, flattened, and held firmly in place while the heat is applied. It will require something with which to handle the paper most delicately. Ah, my curling tongs there will work well. Now then, we will also need an old-fashioned woman's hat box, and a source of constant heat. Something in the restaurant car, perhaps. Collect for me these items, and we will see what we shall see.
Monsieur Poirot? Monsieur Poirot? Monsieur Poirot? Monsieur Poirot? Monsieur Poirot? No, Antoinette. You will not give up so easily. You must find Monsieur Poirot.
I fear you enjoy the detection very much, mademoiselle. Monsieur Bou will lose his assistant if he is not careful.
No need to go all chivalrous, Hector. You must know by now when I see something I like, I...
Buy it.
Take it.
This fool tries to sell me a cleaver with no style or grace. Tell him which is the better cleaver for the hacking of meat.
The cleaver in your right hand.
This inferior piece of stamped metal! You are a fool!
The cleaver in your left hand.
Ah, Here at least is one who knows fine forged German steel when she sees it. Of course, it is forged German steel at its finest. At last you arrive. Obviously you know nothing of cooking. This is indeed the finest forged German steel.
Please let me pass.
Answer my question. Tonight's meal depends upon it. Nothing is more important than that.
The clock says 12:37. The clock says 1:17. The clock says 1:22. The clock says 1:26. Dr. Constantine?
I thought you had forgotten about me. Do you have further need of my expert advice?
I'd like to talk to you about that, yes.
Good.
Could you give me an account of your movements last night?
My movements? Surely, I am not a suspect. But it is absurd. I joined the train at Belgrade. I am the sole paying passenger of the Athens-Paris coach, surrounded by the working staff. The doors are locked between my coach and the coach to Calais. So, I could not have committed the murder.
What is the name of the conference you are addressing in London?
Why, it is the International Society of Gastrointestinal Physicians.
Why would such a group be interested in a speech about a disease found in newborn calves?
Why, there are many similarities between... What I mean is anatomy. Constantine, what have you done?
You lied to us about your qualifications, Doctor. You are a veterinarian, yes?
Yes, a very good veterinarian.
Monsieur Poirot and I relied on your qualified opinions.
Mademoiselle Marceau.
All the inconsistencies, the time of death, the difference in the force of the stab wounds. The murderer is strong, but no, look here, the murderer is weak. He is right-handed. No, he is left-handed.
Have you considered he may have held a knife in each hand?
Doctor, enough. All of it can be explained away with the simple fact that you did not know what you were doing.
Mademoiselle, all of my training was to become a medical doctor, to treat human disease and to save human lives. Then, I come from a poor family. I had not the money to finish my studies. The best I could accomplish was doctor of animals. When Monsieur Poirot was told there was doctor on the train, I saw an opportunity to prove myself. Not to you, you understand. To me.
But your evidence...
I swear to you, every observation I made, every conclusion I reached will be verified by any doctor who examines the body. Further, by my acting while the murder was as yet not too long in the past, I may very well have seen more than any doctor coming to the case days or even hours later. I did lie about my degree. I did not lie about my ability. You may rely on everything I have told to you. Yes, even with all the inconsistencies, you have the correct medical evidence before you.
I would like to take your fingerprints.
What is that you say? I protest! I can have nothing to do with this crime!
Everyone must be fingerprinted.
Refuse? No, of course not. Let's get it over with. I stand by my observations and conclusions. You have medical facts before you, whatever you may think of their source. My speech may actually present a breakthrough, mademoiselle. I am not just a veterinarian. I am a scientist, a seeker of truth, just like you.
Has anything been disarranged in this compartment?
No, mademoiselle. I was careful not to move the body in making my examination. Perhaps you'd care to examine the body.
Doctor?
Yes, Mademoiselle Marceau?
I'm going to update Monsieur Poirot on my progress. Will you make sure the scene of the crime remains undisturbed?
Certainly. I will remain vigilant.
Thank you. Nothing, thank you.
Carry on. Don't mind me. I remain on watch, mademoiselle. Have no fear.
What is your name?
Pierre Michel, mademoiselle.
I've seen your name on reports. Your record with the company is excellent.
Thank you, Mademoiselle Marceau. I always strive to do my very best for my passengers.
Then strive now, Michel.
Perhaps Monsieur could sit up in the salon car for the beginning of this journey?
Please give Monsieur Poirot room 16.
It is taken, mademoiselle.
But number 16 is always kept in reserve for such emergencies.
Nevertheless, tonight it is occupied by an American gentleman, a Monsieur Hardman.
He does not sound like someone to be trifled with.
We must find a room for Monsieur Poirot.
Mademoiselle, if I could construct an additional compartment, I would.
Let me see your passenger manifest, please.
I have an extra plan of the Calais coach with all the passengers listed. Take it by all means. As you can see, every room is filled.
There are extra beds. There are extra beds.
Only 2. In Mr. MacQueen's room, but he has paid for a single. And Miss Ohlson's room, but I hardly think Monsieur Poirot
No, merci. I would not think of it.
Of course.
Oh dear! Someone must have stood there and stabbed him again and again.
There is something in the pocket of his pajamas. Something heavy. I did not disturb it.
Egg!
115. That agrees with my calculations.
Count Andrigny, I am acting on behalf of Monsieur Hercule Poirot in this matter. May I speak with you?
I quite understand your position. I will do anything I can to assist you.
May I have your passport, please?
Yes, certainly.
Rudolph Joseph Andrigny, aged 34. A diplomatic passport.
Yes, I am in the Hungarian consular service.
Wife, Elena Maria Andrigny. Age 20?
Yes, we have only been married a year.
Aged 20, thank you. Are you aware of the identity of the deceased, monsieur?
If you want to know his name, surely it is in his passport.
The name on his passport is Ratchet. That is not his real name. He is in fact Cassetti, who was responsible for the kidnapping and death of a child in America.
Ah, that certainly should throw light upon the matter.
Have you been to America, Monsieur Leconte?
Yes, I was in Washington for a year. Extraordinary country.
Did you know the Armstrong family?
The kidnapped victims?
Yes.
Armstrong. It is difficult to recall. So many diplomatic functions. So many hands to shake. I cannot recall. I'm sorry.
Can you tell me how you spent the evening after dinner last night?
We had my wife's compartment made up while we were at dinner. On returning, we sat up in mine playing piquet. At about 11 o'clock, my wife retired for the night. The attendant made up my compartment, and I also went to bed.
The sudden stop of the train awakened you?
Naturally. I learned from the attendant of the avalanche, then went in to my wife and comforted her.
When did you return to your own compartment?
Well, I didn't, actually. That is to say, I did not like to leave my wife alone after the shock. We passed the remainder of the night together.
Other than the train stopping, did you notice anything unusual?
No, I don't think so. I dropped off to sleep sometime before 2 a.m. and slept through until this morning.
You didn't hear the commotion in the compartment next to yours? The American lady who occupies it had quite an attack of hysterics and rang repeatedly for the attendant.
When was this?
At approximately 1:15.
No, I'm afraid I didn't notice.
Do you smoke, Monsieur Leconte?
The occasional cigar only. They are always offered to me, you understand, but I do not much like them.
Pardon me, Count. I still have one or two matters I would like to discuss.
Then please, do so.
Did you notice the grease spot on your passport? See it just at the beginning of your wife's first name?
These things happen when traveling.
Have you remembered anything about last night that might help us?
Nothing.
Countess, may I ask you some questions regarding the death of Monsieur Ratchet?
I'm not sure what I can do to help, but I'll try.
Have you been to America?
No, mademoiselle. My husband was posted there. Diplomatic duties. But we were not married then.
What is the color of your dressing gown?
Why do you ask me that?
Detectives have to ask all sorts of questions. Forgive me.
It is yellow. Corn-colored chiffon. Are you really a detective, mademoiselle? I was told you worked for the railway.
Well, I'm assisting a detective. That's what I meant.
Is he a Yugoslavian detective?
I think he would tell you he belongs to the world, madame. When did you fall asleep last night?
Soon after 1 o'clock, I believe.
Did you hear or see anything unusual last evening?
After the train stopped?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
You didn't hear Mrs. Hubbard ringing her bell and calling out at around 1:15?
No, it would be very unlikely if I did. I'm sorry.
Countess, I'm sorry to bother you again, but I wonder if I might have another word with you.
Certainly.
Do you remember when I showed you this handkerchief? Handmade, embroidered in Paris, and of course the letter H. 3 ladies aboard have the letter H in their names. But Madame Hubbard considers such a handkerchief useless. Mademoiselle Debenham's middle name is Hermione, but her handkerchiefs are dainty linen, not expensive. Hildegard Schmidt is a lady's maid, not a lady.
Why are you telling me this?
It leaves only you and Princess Dragomiroff, but her first name is Natalia.
It isn't my handkerchief.
There is a wet luggage label on your suitcase.
Oh?
Pulling it back, I found the initials HMK.
Well, that is fascinating, isn't it?
You told me you have never been to America.
I've never been to America.
When you say you've never been to America, you say it with an American accent.
These questions are pointless.
These are observations, Monsieur Leconte, not questions.
You take too much upon yourself, mademoiselle. You are not a detective. You are a clerk in a train office, and your employer will hear her a representative of this railway, treated a diplomat and his wife.
Why was the grease spot added to your passport and the label to your case?
My wife has told you the handkerchief is not hers. There are no H's in her name. Let that be an end to it.
Your name is Helena, isn't it? Not Elena. You are Helena Maria Gilbert, are you not? Sonia Armstrong's sister, Linda Arden's daughter?
I demand, mademoiselle, to know what right you...
No, Rudolph. It is useless to deny what Mademoiselle Marceau says. It is quite true, mademoiselle. I am Helena Gilbert, the youngest sister of Sonia Armstrong.
Why did you hide your true identity?
Surely you can guess the reason. This man who called himself Ratchet murdered my baby niece, killed my sister, and broke my brother-in-law's heart. 3 of the people I loved best and who made up my home, my world. Of all the people on this train, I alone had the strongest motive for killing him.
I give you my word of honor. Helena never left her compartment last night.
Then the handkerchief is yours.
No, it is not. I know I can't hope to make you believe me, but I assure you that is the truth.
When we learned who the man was, and that the handkerchief had been found with the letter H near his body, I pointed out to Helena it would be better to remove any connection to her. A luggage label, a grease spot to cover the alteration. What could be simpler?
I have read quite a bit about crime, Monsieur Leconte. I hope you will take it as a compliment if I say you have the makings of a very fine criminal.
I think I will not take that as a compliment, no.
I confess I know the handkerchief isn't yours.
I don't understand.
Please tell me why you attempted to conceal your identity.
When we learned who the man was, and that the handkerchief had been found with the letter H near his body, I pointed out to Helena it would be better to remove any connection between that man and her. A luggage label, a grease spot to cover the alteration. What could be simpler?
I have read quite a bit about crime, Monsieur Leconte. I hope you will take it as a compliment if I say you have the makings of a very fine criminal.
I think I will not take that as a compliment, no.
Madame la Comtesse, the motive for the murder lies in the past, in the tragedy that broke up your home. Help me. Take me back into the past. Tell me about your sister's household.
What can I tell you? They're all dead! All dead! All dead! Sonia! Robert! Darling, darling Daisy! That curly hair impossible to comb, that sweet, sweet smile.
Tell me about the nursery maid who committed suicide.
Suzanne. If she was involved, I'm sure it was innocently. Chatting idly with someone, giving the times of Daisy's outings.
What was Suzanne's nationality?
She was French.
What was Suzanne's last name?
I was only a child myself at the time. All we called her was Suzanne.
Was there a nurse?
Yes, a trained hospital nurse. New Daughter was her name.
Did you have a tutor or governess, perhaps?
Yes, she was a dragon. English. Oh, rather Scots. A big red-haired woman.
What was her name?
Miss Freebody, if you can believe it.
How old was she?
She seemed frightfully old to me at the time, but I suppose she couldn't have been more than 40.
I know you were only a child at the time, and that the passage of years changes a person, but have you seen anyone on this train who reminds you of any of those people?
No, mademoiselle. I wish I could think of something to help you. I'm sorry I didn't hear anything last night that might be of use to you. I wonder that you are not yet married, mademoiselle. I wish everyone could experience the love my husband and I share. Now that you know who I am, you will, of course, draw your own conclusions. As much as I might want to see that swine dead, I did not stab him. I know my trying to conceal my identity has not helped you to believe me.
I am sorry we could not be of more assistance to you. I have important state business to conduct in London. This delay is extremely frustrating. I wish you well in your investigations, mademoiselle. The sooner this affair is cleared up, the better. The avalanche will soon be clear, and then this matter will at last be in the hands of the proper authorities. I have nothing more to say to you. This detection of crime has gone to your head, mademoiselle. Your employers will be notified.
I'm sorry to disturb you.
Not at all. As you can see, I'm not exactly occupied at the moment. And I do know you're helping that funny little Belgian detective. What can I do for you?
May I have your passport, please?
It's in my compartment. Feel free to collect it.
Your full name, permanent address, and age, please.
Mary Hermione Debenham. 32. I'm between permanent addresses at the moment.
What can you tell me of the murder last night?
I'm afraid I have nothing to tell you. I went to bed and slept.
You seem very at ease. Are you not distressed by what has happened?
Distressed? I have not really thought about it from that point of view. No, I cannot say that I am at all distressed. After all, people die every day.
They die, yes, but murder is thankfully a little more rare. Were you acquainted with Monsieur Ratchet?
I saw him for the first time at dinner last night. Oh, I suppose at the station, perhaps. I don't recall.
How did he strike you?
I hardly noticed him.
He did not strike you as an evil personality?
Really, I cannot say I thought about it. Whether or not I liked Mr. Ratchet's face does not seem to be helpful in finding out who killed him.
Do you know who Monsieur Ratchet really was?
Haven't a clue. Who was he?
Cassetti, the man behind the Armstrong kidnapping.
That was quite abominable.
Where did you begin your journey?
Baghdad.
What were you doing there?
I have been acting as governess to 2 children.
What is your final destination?
London. I'm giving up on Baghdad. Not much happens there. I'm hoping to find a suitable post in London.
What can you tell me about Mademoiselle Schmidt?
She's a nearly perfect travelling companion. Quiet, polite. Thinks the world of her princess.
What is the colour of her dressing gown?
Her dressing gown? It's dark blue. Flannel.
Did Mademoiselle Schmidt leave your compartment at any time during the night?
She was with the princess, reading, I believe, until quite late. I awoke when she returned. I remember thinking she was not paid enough for such long hours and checked my watch. It was 12:38.
How well do you know Colonel Arbuthnot?
That's a very impertinent question, and I'll not answer it.
Mademoiselle Debenham, I must ask you why you lied to me earlier.
Lied to you? I don't know what you mean.
You told me you had never been in America.
What makes you think I have?
Information received, as the English police say. You concealed the fact that you lived in the Armstrong household.
And what, may I ask, was I supposed to have been doing there?
You were governess to Helena Gilbert, Mrs. Armstrong's young sister, and you would have no doubt been governess to little Daisy when she was old enough.
You appear to have found me out.
And the reason for these evasions?
I have my living to get. You must know how hard it is for a girl to get and keep decent employment. I had been detained and questioned in connection with a murder case. Do you think that any nice, ordinary, middle-class Englishwoman would want to engage a girl with those references as governess to her daughters?
Even if no blame attached to you, there would be the publicity.
Yes, we have it hard enough getting on, don't we? Without all of that additional baggage.
I understand very well.
I thought you would know what it is like.
I am the hardest working employee in the office, yet I remain at the lowest wages. And I've worried more than once how my employer, Monsieur Booth, will react when he learns of the avalanche, Monsieur Poirot's accident. Oh, the murder. I'm not to blame,
but somehow you will be blamed. It's not fair. It's just the way things are.
You could have helped the investigation.
How?
Is it possible, Mademoiselle Debenham?
Call me Mary, please.
Mary, is it possible you did not recognize Countess Andrenyi?
Recognize her? From the society pages, you mean?
She is Helena Gilbert, the young sister whom you taught in New York.
Helena. It is true she reminded me of someone. It puzzled me. But she looks so different now. So elegant. How could I connect her with a little American schoolgirl? I admit I looked more closely at her clothes than her face, and I had my own preoccupations.
Not now, when it's all over, when it's behind us.
Antoinette, those words refer to a private matter of my own. I can't tell you. I can't. I'm afraid there is no more I can tell you. I'm not as cold-hearted as you seem to think. If I knew more that would help, I'd tell you. I wonder if you still think I'm the strongest among us. See? I'm right. I am not so strong after all. I feel like I'm trapped in one of those crystal balls you shake to make the snow fall. And there is no escape. The private matter I mentioned will remain private, I'm sorry.
The bracelet is worthless, mademoiselle. It is copper only. I bought it outside the train station in Istanbul. For my arthritis. Take it if you like.
I'm very sorry, Your Highness. I realize how this must look, but I am only doing the job assigned me. I promise I'll return it to you, if I can.
Ah, then I expect you would like to interrogate me. I believe that is the correct term.
If I may.
But of course. I am suspect just as anyone in the Calais coach must be. I am ready for the 3rd degree.
I have borrowed your passport, Your Highness.
I noticed that as well.
Natalia Dragomiroff, 17 Avenue Kleber, Paris. You are travelling home from Istanbul, madame?
Yes. I have been staying at the Austrian embassy. My maid is with me, as you saw in the marketplace.
Could you give me a brief account of your movements last evening?
Nothing could be simpler. After dinner, Schmidt, my maid, read to me. We were interrupted by the train stopping to avoid the avalanche. Then she read aloud to me some more until quite late.
Can you give me an idea of the time?
If I were to guess, I would say it was 1:30.
Has your maid been with you long?
15 years.
Do you consider her trustworthy?
Absolutely. Her people come from an estate of my late husband's in Germany.
Forgive the personal nature of this question, madame, but what is the colour of your dressing gown?
My dressing gown? It is of blue satin.
You have been in America, I presume, madame?
Many times.
Were you acquainted with a family by the name of Armstrong?
You speak of friends of mine, mademoiselle. Sonia Armstrong was my goddaughter. I was on terms of friendship with her mother, Linda Arden, one of the greatest tragic actresses in the world. As Lady Macbeth, as Nora in A Doll's House, there was no one to touch her. I was not only an admirer of her art, I was a personal friend.
Is Linda Arden dead?
No, she is alive. It is a sort of life. She lives in complete retirement. Her health is very delicate. She must lie on a sofa most of the time.
Mrs. Armstrong had a sister, did she not?
Yes, much younger than Mrs. Armstrong.
And she is alive?
Certainly.
Where is she?
I must ask the reason of these questions. What have they to do with the murder on this train?
The dead man was responsible for the kidnapping and death of Mrs. Armstrong's child.
Ah. In my view, then, this murder is an entirely admirable occurrence. You will pardon my slightly biased point of view.
It is most natural, madame. Where is the younger daughter of Linda Arden, the sister of Mrs. Armstrong?
I've lost touch with the younger generation. I believe she married an Englishman some years ago, but at the moment I cannot recollect the name. Mademoiselle, you will forgive me, but the one you assist, he who guides the investigation, no one has told me his name.
He is Hercule Poirot, madame.
Poirot. Of course. I thought his face was somehow familiar to me. Poirot on this train. It is destiny.
I have returned to you, Your Highness.
I thought you might.
I'm having some difficulty locating the owner of this handkerchief.
I am sorry to hear that. If you had asked me, I could have told you it is mine.
Why did you not tell me that Elena Andreni was Madame Armstrong's sister?
Her mother was my friend. Of course I would protect her if I could.
Yours? But, Your Highness, your first name is Natalia.
I'm perfectly aware of my first name, mademoiselle. My handkerchiefs are always embroidered with Russian characters. In the Cyrillic alphabet, H is written as N.
How did your handkerchief come to be lying by the murdered man's body?
I have no idea.
Your maid said she did not recognize this handkerchief.
Schmidt believes in loyalty as I do. I believe in loyalty to one's friends and one's family and one's class. If I remember the name of the Englishman Linda's other daughter married, I will inform you at once. I think Monsieur Poirot is very lucky indeed to have you assisting him, mademoiselle. Cassetti? That monster? On this very train? And Poirot as well? Oh, we are but puppets of destiny. Mademoiselle, I suggest you look elsewhere for your murderer. When your investigation is complete, I would like my handkerchief back. And my copper bracelet? Soon this entire affair will be behind us all. If only you and that Belgian detective will allow it.
Whatever you're reading appears to distress you.
It doesn't matter.
That guy is the most stuck-up human being I've ever met. Even for an Englishman.
Ratchet's a valet?
Yeah, Masterman. I'm glad I'm not traveling in the same room with him.
Oh, I like everybody. And him, he is as quiet as a little mouse.
You're welcome to him, that's my view. Deal the cards.
But look here, Colonel. Your policy in India is obviously self-defeating. You can't keep it as a colony forever, you know.
I don't see why not.
You probably wouldn't have seen why not back in 1776, but America is free as a bird now.
And suffering through one of the worst economic depressions in history, I believe.
You're not seriously suggesting that if the United States had remained a colony of England, we could have avoided a depression?
I don't see why not.
Oh, Rudolph, it is a nightmare.
I know how hard all of this is for you. The only good thing about nightmares is that eventually we wake up.
Will you help me to be strong?
You are stronger than I, dearest. You have been through so much more.
My love, my love, my love.
Mr. Snagsby is dismayed to see, standing with an attentive face between himself and the lawyer at a little distance from the table, a person with a hat and a stick in his hand, who was not there when he himself came in and has not since entered by the door or by either of the windows. Yet this third person stands there with his attentive face, and his hat, and his stick in his hands behind him, a composed and quiet listener. He is a stoutly built, steady-looking, sharp-eyed man in black, of about middle age, except that he looks at Mr. Snagsby as if he were going to take his portrait. There is nothing remarkable about him, at first sight, but his ghostly manner of appearing.
Enough, Schmidt. Detectives are not so superhuman as Mr. Dickens suggests. They are as human as you or I. Now, I will rest for a short while.
Yes, Your Excellency.
Mademoiselle, what are you doing?
Michel, you startled me. I'm testing. Monsieur Boost tells me there have been complaints from passengers that the compartments are not as soundproof as they might be, so I am testing to see if improvements can be made.
You are certainly being very thorough, mademoiselle.
Hold on, Michel. I want to talk to you.
As you wish.
See here, Michel. Why can't I open Mr. Ratchet's crate? You know perfectly well I am his representative.
No longer now that he is dead.
I just want to make sure the statue wasn't damaged during that sudden stop last night.
C'est impossible. You must leave the baggage car at once.
I don't know what you think you're up to, but if you're using this whole thing for some private gain, I'll see to it you wind up in jail.
If I do, you'll be in the cell next to me.
I cannot regret that he is dead.
I agree with you, mademoiselle.
Still, it is not necessary that he should be killed aboard one of our trains. There are other places.
Indeed. The investigation continues, and we progress, no? And now is the time for the assembling of the evidence. Collect all passports, gather information about our suspects, seek out any clues, follow every possible trail. And we progress, no? Now is the time for the assembling of the evidence. Collect all passports, interrogate all witnesses, find some way to collect fingerprints, and seek out any clues that may aid us. If only we had some means of contacting the outside world, we might learn even more concerning certain persons here on the train. And of course, those tracks outside Monsieur Ratchet's window must be followed. Mademoiselle Marceau, while they enjoy this brief moment before you render your final decision, let us, you and I, see whether you are up to the challenge the Poirot presented to you when our investigation began. Let us check the progress report you have been keeping in your scrapbook. Mademoiselle Marceau, Poirot, he is in awe. You have rendered him speechless. Well, perhaps not entirely speechless. Mademoiselle, you are courageous. You face the dangers without flinching. You solve every puzzle that confronts you, overcome every obstacle. It has been my extreme pleasure to work with you and to match the wits with you. Why you waste your talents as a clerk in an office is a mystery not even Poirot can solve. No, I would gladly accept your assistance on another case, should the opportunity ever arise. Mademoiselle Marceau, Poirot, he is impressed. You are courageous. You face the dangers without flinching. You solve almost every puzzle that confronts you, overcome almost every obstacle with enthusiasm and good humor. It has been my extreme pleasure to work with you and to match the wits with you. I am sure that with the knowledge you now have of my methods, you could do even better, should you ever find yourself faced with another mystery to solve. Mademoiselle Marceau, Poirot must compliment you on a job well done. You are courageous. You face the dangers without flinching. You solve many puzzles that confront you, overcome many obstacles with enthusiasm and good humor. An above-average performance in every respect. Hopefully, with the knowledge you now have of my methods, you might do even better should you ever find yourself faced with another mystery to solve. Mademoiselle Marceau, you are courageous. You face the dangers without flinching. I compliment you. You have completed every task that I have set for you with enthusiasm and good humor, even those obstacles that you could not quite overcome on your own. Perhaps you are not suited to the detection of crime. Few people are. But I wish you well, whether you decide to remain with my good friend Boo or seek some more adventurous employment. Mademoiselle Marceau, you are courageous. You face the dangers without flinching. I compliment you. You have completed every task that I have set for you with enthusiasm and good humor. I think, however, you were not quite up to the challenge that I presented to you. No, in all modesty, the reputation of Poirot, it is intact. I think you are not suited to the detection of crime. Few people are. But I wish you well, whether you decide to remain with my good friend Boo or seek some more adventurous employment.
On an ocean voyage?
The close quarters, the intimacy. No, even aboard a ship at sea one can avoid one's fellow passengers the entire voyage, if that is the wish.
In America?
Oui, the great melting pan of America.
Melting pot.
This is the answer I made to myself as well. Only in America you might find a household composed of such varied nationalities. And what do we discover here? Such a household has recreated itself aboard this train. A household damaged almost beyond recovery 10 years ago by the man Ratchet. And so we near the end of at least one journey. Please to assemble our fellow passengers in the salon car. Oh, and please also to send for Michel and Dr. Constantine. I will need their assistance to convey me to the salon car.
You will present your solution?
I will offer 3 solutions. You, mademoiselle, will decide which of them will best serve justice.
I still need to ask you some questions about last night.
At your service, dear young lady. But I know nothing.
Did you see anyone leave the train last night?
No, but as I have told you, we were busy with the boiler. The pressure must be kept up for the lights and heat.
Did you see anyone get on the train?
In Belgrade, there was a single passenger only for the Athens-Paris coach. No one at the other stops that I saw.
Can you describe this passenger?
He was small, dark. A doctor, I think, Michel said.
No one else?
Well, Matteo, of course, the Athens-Paris attendant. Not to speak ill of the crew, but he was very late getting aboard. We left the station only moments later. I wonder where you can find such fine teeth. You are an angel of mercy, dear young lady. I can eat again. I think I will not bother with those ill-fitting teeth in Trieste. These fit wonderfully.
Monsieur Poirot.
Ratchet was already dead when those were delivered. The murderer returned to make certain Ratchet was dead. The murderer had unusually long arms. Ratchet thrashed about as he was dying. A left-handed murderer could easily strike there, someone striking with their eyes shut in a blind frenzy. Perhaps the killer was uncertain at first, then overcome with a bloodlust. Could there be two murderers?
Monsieur Poirot.
His menu seems to overemphasize meat dishes. The butcher, it suits him. Klaus seems even more temperamental than usual today. Worse than avalanches and murder, veal and potatoes. Why does this not surprise me? What do you know of Klaus's movements last night?
Monsieur Poirot.
It occurs to me, in spite of everything, that the murder may not have to do with the Armstrong case at all. We have much evidence pointing to the existence of an outsider aboard the train. One who disguises himself, uses stilettos to kill, then vanishes into the snow. What do you think? Or he could be out there in a frozen snowdrift or lying broken at the bottom of a rocky ravine. The body may never be found until the spring thaw. I enjoy the investigation, monsieur. I certainly do not enjoy the fact that a man has been killed.
I would like to fingerprint you.
Eğer mecbursan.
Monsieur Ratchet had received the threats from an unknown enemy. Mademoiselle Marceau? The tone of these letters suggests an enmity born in the American underworld, of which Monsieur Ratchet was once a part. A former colleague in one of his kidnapping schemes? Who knows? We have the evidence of a detective Monsieur Ratchet hired to protect him.
The detective is Hector MacQueen, pretending to be a secretary. The detective is Cyrus Hardman, posing as a salesman of typewriter ribbons. The detective is Masterman, posing as a valet.
The evidence of Monsieur Hardman, who is indeed a detective hired to protect Monsieur Ratchet, gives to us a description of a small, dark man with a womanish voice. Except for the voice, this description would only fit two men on this train.
Matteo, the Athens-Paris coach attendant, and Dr. Constantine. Klaus, the chef de cuisine, and Lucien, the waiter.
Yet Monsieur Hardman's vigilance during the night shows that no one could have passed from the Athens-Paris coach to the Calais coach without his seeing them. So anyone in that coach must be exonerated. The enemy actually came aboard the train at Belgrade one of two ways.
Through the door left unbolted by Monsieur MacQueen, helped aboard through the restaurant car door by Pierre Michel.
This enemy was disguised, leaving behind a button in Madame Hubbard's room when he used her connecting door. Mademoiselle, the disguise? A passkey was found in the pocket of this uniform, giving the murderer access to Ratchet's room. Ratchet was under the influence of a dose of his sleeping draught, light enough to wake him, but strong enough to prevent him from struggling as the killer left through the connecting door.
Hector MacQueen confirmed the dosage of the sleeping draught. Masterman confirmed the dosage of the sleeping draught. Pierre Michel confirmed the dosage of the sleeping draught.
Oui, he did. Well, the murder weapon is obvious. Mademoiselle?
It is a stiletto, the type of knife carried by the criminal type in America called the mafiosi.
The killer planned to leave the train at the next station after committing his crime. Show to them the evidence supporting this, mademoiselle. Exact. The avalanche prevented him from reaching Broad. Even so, he went through with the crime and then hid himself.
The killer hid in the baggage car inside Ratchet's crate. The killer hid in an empty room in the Athens-Paris coach. The killer hid in a shepherd's hut on the mountain.
At first, in the Athens-Paris coach. Then later, it is in the hut. Mademoiselle found the uniform and the stiletto. But the killer had fled. He may have escaped down the mountain, or he may have come to his just reward somewhere out there in the snow.
That flat match. You get those on the train. They come in paper covers.
Were you following me, Mademoiselle Marceau?
No, I was lost.
It is difficult to get lost aboard the train.
Nevertheless, I was lost. In thought. I got turned around. There you have it.
May I suggest you return to the Calais coach, mademoiselle? I will lock up here.
Yes, of course. Thank you. I saw the baggage car door was unlocked and I thought I should check.
I was collecting some biscuits and an extra blanket for Princess Dragomiroff.
Ah, good. That is the explanation then.
May I suggest you return to the Calais coach, mademoiselle? I'll lock up here.
Yes, of course. Thank you. In all the time I've worked for the train line, I've never seen the inside of a baggage car.
It is not the most comfortable of cars aboard the train.
Nevertheless, I feel the more I learn about the trains, the more it helps me in my job. Yes, why are you away from your post in the Calais coach?
I was collecting some biscuits and an extra blanket for Princess Dragomiroff.
Ah, good. That is the explanation then.
May I suggest you return to the Calais coach, mademoiselle? I'll lock up here.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Please, mademoiselle, you are keeping me from my duties. I will see that all is secure here. Do not worry. Please return to the Calais coach. Pardon me, mademoiselle.
Monsieur Foscarelli.
Ah, signorina! I have been told you aid the great Hercule Poirot in his investigations. I will help you in any way I can.
May I have your passport, please?
Of course, of course! Here you are!
You are Antonio Foscarelli. I see here you are a naturalized American citizen.
Yes, signorina. It is better for my business. I am, as you can see, a salesman of motor cars. I do big business. I am up to date. I understand salesmanship.
What do you smoke? A pipe, cigarettes, cigars?
Cigarettes only.
You travel frequently to and from the United States?
Yes, for the past 10 years or so.
Did you ever come across Monsieur Ratchet?
Never, but I know the type. Oh, yes. It is very respectable, very well dressed, but underneath it is all wrong. I should say he was a big crook. I give you my opinion for what it is worth.
Your opinion is quite right. Monsieur Ratchet was Cassetti, the kidnapper.
What did I tell you? I have learned to read the face. It is necessary. Only in America do they teach you the proper way to sell.
Please tell me your movements last night after dinner.
With pleasure. I stay here in the salon car for a while. It is more amusing. I play cards with the American gentleman who sells the typewriter ribbons. We talk shop. Afterwards, we retire to my compartment and play the cards some more. And talk more shop. That one, though, he is not the salesman Foscarelli is, I can tell you.
Do you remember the Armstrong case?
I do not quite remember, but yes. The name, it was a little girl, was it not? A baby, una bambina.
Yes.
Ah, well, these things, they happen, even in a great country like America.
Have you ever come across any members of the Armstrong family?
It is difficult to say. I see so many people, you understand. I'll give you some figures. Last year alone, I sold...
Please, monsieur, confine yourself to the point.
With great pleasure.
What time did you go to your compartment?
Oh, it was early. 8:30 or so.
What time did you stop playing cards in your room?
Not yet 10 o'clock. That stuffed shirt of a valet who shares the compartment with me came back from attending his master. A miserable people, the English. Not sympathetic. He sits in the corner, very stiff, reading a book. Mr. Hardman and I, we lose our taste for the cards, and Mr. Hardman, he goes off to his own room. The attendant makes up our beds.
What time did you go to bed?
I lay on my bunk for a while. The Englishman has, I think, the toothache. He gets out a little bottle of stuff that smells very strong. He moans and groans. I drop off around 10:30. Whenever I wake, I hear him groaning.
Do you know if Monsieur Masterman left the room at all during the night?
I do not think so. If the door opened, the light from the corridor, one wakes up automatically thinking it is the customs examination at some frontier.
Did Monsieur Masterman ever speak of his master?
I tell you, he did not speak, even to introduce himself. He was not a sympathetic, a fish.
Signore Foscarelli, I'm here for the truth.
I think that everyone has underestimated this Signore Poirot, and you too, Signorina. You too.
I found a chauffeur's license in your suitcase.
Yes, but it is a fact I have loved motor cars my whole life. Selling them, though, is much finer than driving other people's cars.
The license is issued by the state of New York. You said you lived in Chicago. Chicago is not in that state, is it?
No. Chicago is in the state of Illinois.
It will be a point in your favor if you tell me the truth.
You talk like the American police. Come clean. That is what they say. Come clean.
You were arrested by the American police. Was that in New York?
Arrested? No, never. They could not prove anything against me.
Don't you think you should come clean, monsieur?
It is true. I have not been frank with you. The word frank, it is odd, no? It is a man's name, but I think it is correct here. I am not frank. Sometimes, you know, a motor car may not be perfect, but you must make a sale. So you are not frank.
You were the Armstrong chauffeur, were you not?
Since you know, why ask me?
Why did you lie to me?
Lie? Lie? I did not lie. I was not frank.
Why?
I do not trust the Yugoslavian police. They do not like Italians. They would not have given me justice.
Tell me about Daisy Armstrong.
That little one. She was the delight of the house. Tonio, she called me. They all did. She would sit in the car and pretend to hold the wheel. Such a beautiful little one.
Have you been frank about your movements last night?
I had nothing to do with that business. It was not I who killed that big Ratchet. You cannot prove anything against me. I am sorry, Signorina. I want to help, but I know nothing more. Signorina, if you ever wish to buy the finest motor car, Antonio Foscarelli is the man to see. I know you do not have the time for the game of cards. Maybe when this horrible affair is behind us, maybe then. You have been lucky, Signorina. Your luck may change. You should take care. Keep your eye on your step. This is what they say in America. Watch it.
Now see here, Foscarelli, I've done my fair share of traveling. I'll tell you, Kataya tiles are the finest made in Turkey.
And I tell you, it is the enamel tiles from Iznik. These are the oldest and the most beautiful of the Ottoman Empire.
Well, they are quite impressive, to be sure. But the Kataya tiles are more beautiful. I'm sure there are examples sold here in this bazaar that would prove my point.
Gentlemen, please, may I get by?
What have we here?
Young lady, settle the dispute. You know the famous enameled ceramics?
Yes, of course, I live in Istanbul, but...
We have to wait here for our porter. Find us an example of a Kataya tile.
And an Iznik.
Just borrow them for a second. No need to buy any.
How dare you ask me such a question?
It's the principle of the thing, miss.
I don't have time for this.
Then permit us to continue the debate without you.
She returns. Perhaps now we can settle this.
Did you bring us a Kataya?
Or an Iznik?
Here is an Iznik tile. It is the most beautiful beyond any doubt.
Did I not say this? Thank you, young woman. Now we can turn our attention to more important things, like those fountains we were discussing earlier.
Here is a Kataya bowl. It is the best, of course.
There. What did I tell you?
Thank you, young woman. Now we can turn our attention to more important things, like those fountains we were discussing earlier.
Here are both. I prefer Iznik for their traditional decorative use in architecture, and Kataya for plates and bowls, but both are wonderful. I prefer Iznik for their traditional decorative use in architecture, and Kataya for plates and bowls, but both are wonderful.
It is of course true what she says. The workmanship in both is exquisite.
Knows her own mind, I'll say that.
Thank you, young woman. Now we can turn our attention to more important things, like those fountains we were discussing earlier.
Not yet.
Well, please return once you have.
It was Monsieur Ratchet, but he is well.
Then let us hurry back to sleep.
Hello, Greta. Where have you been?
I am giving the headache powder to the American lady, Mrs. Hubbard. I do not think travel is suiting her the way it does you, and I miss. I am taking much comfort from the caring for the poor, lost orphan children of Turkey. Oh, you must not trouble yourself with me. I have at last found the place God prepared for me in this world. I am content. I am very tired. I am sorry if I am repeating myself. Is there drama or calamity?
It was Monsieur Ratchet, but he is well.
Then let us hurry back to sleep. Oh, please, European miss. I have the train to Calais to catch, but I am so turned about in here. The heat, the foreign peoples. I pray for a guide, but it is frivolous and weak, and I know, and God rightly does not grant these prayers.
I'm with the train company. I can give you directions.
Directions? Oh, no, no. I am doing very poorly with directions. Please, show me the way, or I am becoming lost forever.
If you'll come with me, I can take you to the train.
Oh, thank you. You are my guide that God sends to me. Yes, take me to the train, please. I must not be missing the train that leaves Istanbul on this day. It is most important. I am giving my promise. There will be much calamity. Will you be my guide, European miss?
I'm taking the train myself, but I'm in a hurry. Please, try and keep up.
Oh, thank you. You are my guide that God sends to me. Yes, take me to the train, please. I must not be missing the train that leaves Istanbul on this day.
I'm sorry, but I don't have time to help you right now.
It is most important. I am giving my promise. There will be much calamity. Will you be my guide, European Miss?
Really, I don't have time for this.
It is most important. I have prayed. I am giving my promise. There will be much calamity. Will you be my guide, European Miss?
Very well, but I'm in a hurry. Please, try to keep up.
Oh, thank you. Yes, take me to the train, please. I must not be missing the train that leaves Istanbul on this day. I am Greta Ohlson, matron to a small missionary school near the port of Gemlik. I nurse and instruct the children who have lost their way. No, miss, please, the train. The train, miss, the train. You were indeed sent to me by God. How could you arrange to meet that strange older man later?
I said that only to make him step aside.
That is the kind of strange older man who I am bumping into until I find you.
We met him after you found me.
Yeah, I do not like these street markets.
The man was armed? It is bizarre. Why did he not defend himself?
What were you doing going through Michel's belongings? First I see you snooping outside Monsieur Ratchet's window, then going through Michel's belongings. What were you doing?
Your job.
You know I am assisting Monsieur Poirot.
Sure. Begin the interrogation.
What is your profession?
I'm a salesman. Typewriting ribbons.
Do you always travel first class, Monsieur Hardman?
Sure. The firm pays my traveling expenses.
Where is your destination?
Paris.
And from there?
New York.
What can you tell me about the murder?
Nothing at all.
That is a pity. What were you doing outside Monsieur Ratchet's window?
Okay, there were footprints there. Man's shoe, but not a large one. Size 7, maybe. I followed the tracks, then it looked like whoever made them put on some snowshoes and headed out over that deep snow near the back of the train.
May I have your passport, please?
It's in my room. 16. Help yourself.
Perhaps, Monsieur Hardman, you could tell me why I found a blackjack, or sap as I believe it's called, in your suitcase?
How do you know what it's called?
Crime is a hobby of mine.
Yeah? Well, why don't you try knitting instead?
You will tell me exactly what you did last night from dinner onwards, and I would like to take your fingerprints. Perhaps, Monsieur Hardman, you will tell me exactly what you did last night from dinner onwards, and I would like to take your fingerprints.
I guess it's okay. You people are serious about this investigation, aren't you?
Of course. You have heard of Monsieur Poirot?
Yeah, I have. I think I better come clean, or I could find myself in a lot of hot water here.
I would advise you to come clean.
Okay, I don't know anything, like I said. But I ought to know something. That's what makes me sore. I ought to. My passport's a bit of a bluff. That's who I really am.
Please explain.
I showed up at the appointed time. Ratchet put me wise to the situation.
What situation?
He showed me a couple of letters he got. Threatening letters.
The threatening letters?
Yeah, he showed me 2 of them.
Did Monsieur Ratchet seem alarmed by the letters?
Pretended not to be, but he was rattled all right.
What instructions did he give you?
I was to travel by the same train he did to Paris and see that nobody got him. That's the thing. I did travel by the same train, and in spite of me, somebody did get him. I feel sore about that. Doesn't look any too good for me.
Did he have any idea who the letters were from?
Well, Ratchet described him to me.
What?
Sure. Said he was a small man, dark, with a kind of womanish voice.
Did Monsieur Ratchet not tell you the man's name?
Nope.
Did Monsieur Ratchet say why his life was threatened?
No, he was kind of reticent about that part of it. Just said the fellow was out for his blood and meant to get it.
Ratchet was Cassetti, the Armstrong murderer.
No kidding. Should have recognized him. I mean, I suppose I saw photos of him in the papers and everything. Well, that explains it. Cassetti made a lot of enemies in the American underworld. He often skipped when the heat was on, leaving his partners in crime to face the music. Some assassin finally caught up with him. Say, I've really fallen down on this thing. And with a famous detective like Mr. Poirot on the case, too. This won't do my rep any good with my boss, Mr. McNeil, if it gets back to him.
I'm in the same predicament, Monsieur Hardman, believe me.
You are? Well, that's good. I mean, bad for you, but... Say, listen, if we could keep the mess I've made out of this thing between ourselves...
I must tell Monsieur Poirot everything.
Oh, sure. I'll have to swallow my professional pride there, but if we can keep it on this side of the Atlantic, maybe, I'd really appreciate it.
I'll see what I can do. Do you know anyone connected with the Armstrong case who matches the description Monsieur Ratchet gave you?
Well, that's hard to say. They're mostly dead, aren't they?
Yes. Mrs. Armstrong, Colonel Armstrong, the nursemaid who threw herself out a window.
I remember now. The nursemaid was suspected. She killed herself even though she was eventually cleared.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. Snow is very bright. So, yeah, that nursemaid was a foreigner, I think. Maybe she had some foreign relations or something. But that wasn't the first time Cassetti had run that kidnapping stunt. I bet there are lots of people had it in for him.
Please tell me your movements after dinner last night.
I played some cards with that Italian guy at the front on the coach. Then when people started turning in, I went back to my room. Stayed up all night, had my door a bit ajar so I could keep watch. But nobody could see me. You get it?
I understand how it is done, yes. Could you see the attendant from that position?
Sure. He sits on that little seat right past my room.
Can you describe his movements?
Let's see. He answered a couple of bells after the snow stopped us. Went back into the rear coach for 10 minutes or so. Then there was a bell ringing like mad and he came running back. I got a bit nervous over that. But it was just that talkative American dame raising hell about something or other. Bit later he headed off to make somebody's bed up. Then he settled in.
Did you see anyone moving up and down the passage?
Nope.
Is there anyone on the train who can confirm your identity?
My credentials are taped to the bottom of the table in my compartment along with my real passport. I'm sure you can find them.
Do you smoke, Monsieur Hardman?
Sure. I've got some cigarettes in my room. Come on by this evening after things quiet down. I can be far more entertaining than that mouse of a woman in your room.
No, thank you. Monsieur Hardman?
I owe you an apology, Miss Marceau.
You do?
I wasn't very polite when we first met outside the station. And I came on kind of strong when you caught me going through Michel's things. There's no excuse for it. Fact is, I've always liked French girls. And that's not a line, just the way it is. That makes my behavior even worse somehow, I think. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Monsieur Hardman. I accept your apology.
Thanks. So exactly what's up on this train? Seems bughouse to me.
To me, too, sometimes.
Fire away if you want to grill me some more.
Have you done any more investigating of your own?
Nope, after you caught me, I figured it wasn't worth it. Snooping around might make me look guilty. I've been sitting tight.
It seems obvious the murder is tied to the Armstrong kidnapping.
How did you and Poirot get wise to that? That's what I'd like to know.
We guessed.
Okay, I'll pretend I believe that.
You were not the gardener at the Armstrong house, were you?
They didn't have a garden.
Were you the Armstrong butler?
Haven't got the fancy manner for a job like that. Masterman now. He's the butler type. I'm beginning to believe I'm about the only one on this train who had no connection to that case.
Have you any ideas of your own about the crime?
I admit it's got me beat, so we have quite a lot in common, don't we? I saw you snooping, you saw me snooping. And we both want to keep our bosses in the dark.
Not the best foundation for a trusting relationship, I think.
My credentials are taped to the bottom of the table in my compartment, along with my real passport. I'm sure you can find them. I don't envy you your task, I'll say that. Whoever did it, I figure Ratchet had it coming. I wouldn't be surprised if this case is never solved.
The heat it is restored, as is the relative comfort, under the circumstances, of Poirot. Bon, we can proceed.
Heat again? It is a miracle.
About time you people managed to fix the heat.
Did you really restore the heat all by yourself? How absolutely splendid.
Michel told me you fixed whatever was wrong with the heat. I'm sure he meant you ordered it done. Thank you.
It seems we are all indebted to you for our comfort, and perhaps our lives as well. Thank you, mademoiselle.
Was that you I saw crawling around under the train? And now we have heat again. Well, well.
At last the heat is restored.
Ah, the young woman to whom we owe our regained comfort. Many thanks.
You have done us all a great service, mademoiselle. Your employers will be informed.
How did you restore the heat? Aren't you clever, though?
Everyone's talking about how you single-handedly repaired the train. Bravo!
Heat at last! Gracias, Señorita Marceau. What should we have done without you?
Mademoiselle Marceau, the restoration of the heat has saved us all. What can we do, mademoiselle? It is an impossible situation. But please think of something. I don't want to lose my job.
And has a solution suggested itself? Can you assist me, mademoiselle? It is of the greatest importance that I reach England.
Well, it's about time, I must say. Here I am with information that will solve your mystery for you, and it's hours before you show up. You aren't helping that famous detective, or whatever he is, aren't you?
Yes, madam, I have that honor.
I would think you'd be more on your toes. In America, the police would have arrested the culprit by now on my evidence.
Then let us proceed without delay. May I have your passport, please?
My passport? What do you want my passport for? I'm the witness, not the murderer. What is wrong with you people in this country?
This is Yugoslavia, madam. I am French.
That's what I said.
Your passport. Thank you. You are Caroline Martha Hubbard, of Great Neck, is it? Long Island?
That's what it says, doesn't it?
You are traveling to Paris to meet your daughter?
Yes, that I'm supposed to sail for home the day after tomorrow. Though, how can I do that stuck here? I'll never know.
Did you hear any sounds coming from Monsieur Ratchet's room?
Well, earlier I'd asked that Swedish lady, Mrs. Ohlson, if she had anything for a headache. She's a nurse, you know.
Yes, I know.
Poor soul. Looking for my room, she'd opened the door to Mr. Ratchet's compartment by mistake. He laughed and said something not very nice, I think. But I couldn't make it out. She said, "Oh, I make a mistake. I ashamed to make a mistake," in that bizarre accent of hers. And he laughed again and said something about her being too old. The idea! My late husband, Mr. Hubbard, and I enjoyed conjugal relations right up to the very end.
Anything else?
After that, I heard snoring. Quite loud, like an airplane engine revving up.
What color is your dressing gown?
What an odd question. I have 2 dressing gowns, if you must know. A pink flannel that's kind of cozy on board ship, and a purple silk number that my late husband, Mr. Hubbard, gave me. But what in creation do you want to know that for?
Someone in a scarlet kimono was seen coming out of either your compartment or Monsieur Ratchet's. It is very difficult to tell sometimes which is which when all the doors are closed.
Well, it wasn't mine.
Then it must have been Monsieur Ratchet's.
That wouldn't surprise me any. I thought I heard a voice in there.
Was it a woman you heard in Monsieur Ratchet's room?
Yes, I think it was.
Did you hear what was said?
Well, I didn't put a glass up to the connecting door and eavesdrop, for heaven's sakes. What sort of a person do you think I am?
When was it you heard this voice?
I have no idea. Sometime after the snoring died.
Was it before or after the train stopped?
After. After the man in my room that you have so far failed to ask me about. I woke up, heard the voice, and that was that.
Tell me about the man you thought was in your room.
At last! No offense intended, sweetie, but you foreigners do just about everything backwards.
The man?
Well, I was in bed. I woke up. All in the dark it was. And I knew, I tell you, that there was a man in there with me.
In your bed?
In my what? How dare you? No, in my compartment. I was just so scared I couldn't scream. I just lay there and thought, mercy, I'm going to be killed by some foreigner. These nasty trains. I just lay there with my eyes closed and thought of America. Somehow I got my wits about me and I felt about with my hand and I felt.
Yes?
The bell button. I pressed it and pressed, but no one came. I thought, mercy, what if they'd murdered every single soul on the train? I went on pressing the bell, and at last, footsteps in the corridor. I dragged on my dressing gown, the pink one. I screamed, "Come in!" and switched on the lights, and would you believe it? There wasn't a soul there.
Michel opened your door and entered?
Yes, although considering the time it took him to arrive, he must have come by dog sled. He seemed to imagine I dreamt the whole thing. I tell you here and now, I'm not one to imagine things.
Michel searched your compartment?
Yes, even under the chair, although he said there wasn't room for a man to squeeze himself under there. I asked him to check the connecting door.
Was it bolted?
No, but I knew it had been because I asked the Swedish lady to check it when she brought me the headache powder.
Before Michel arrived, did either door open and close?
Sweetie, my eyes were squeezed shut tighter than a banker's fist. I didn't see. And with the bell making all that racket, the intruder could have dynamited a hole in the wall, and I wouldn't have heard it.
Do you remember the Armstrong kidnapping?
I'll say I do. How that wretch that did it escaped scot-free, I'll never understand. I'd have liked to get my hands on him.
You could have, madam, when the connecting door was unbolted.
You mean Ratchet was the man?
Yes, his real name was Cassetti.
Well, imagine that. Wait till I tell my daughter.
Were you acquainted with the Armstrong family?
Well, they were from New York, too. But no, they moved in a very exclusive circle. I've always heard that Mrs. Armstrong was a perfectly lovely woman and that her husband worshipped her. It was all incredibly sad.
I would like to dust the doorknob of the connecting door for fingerprints.
My, aren't you the little improviser? Be my guest, sweetie. Search the whole place if you'd like. I need a drink.
Mrs. Hubbard, wait. You dropped this.
That's not mine.
I thought as it has the initial H on it.
I've got mine right here. See? It's marked CMH, and it's a sensible thing, not that flimsy, expensive Parisian cambric. What good is a hanky you can't sneeze into? I understand we'll be underway soon.
Yes, the snow is being cleared now. I'm sorry you'll miss your boat to America.
Under the circumstances, I've decided to stop in Paris for a few days, play with my grandchildren, and recuperate from this trip.
I found this photograph in your suitcase.
I hope you didn't mind rummaging through my dirty clothes.
Is it your daughter?
Yes, isn't she a sweetie, though? And terribly bright. Her husband just adores her, of course. And those are her 2 children. Aren't they cunning?
Have you thought of anything else that might be helpful to our investigation?
Well, you certainly have everyone in an uproar. Maybe next time you'll be able to be more discreet. Oh, I forgot. You probably won't be doing any more investigating after this, will you?
That's all.
That wasn't helpful? I thought it was. My daughter is not going to believe me when I tell her why I was so late arriving. You really should get back to your office in Istanbul as soon as you can, sweetie. I think you're far more suited to be a clerk than a detective. I can't believe you have still not caught the murderer. I practically handed him to you on a plate. Have you enjoyed rummaging around in my room?
Mademoiselle, take care. The ice tongs are far too clumsy. Try the curling tongs of my moustache. There. I give you the hint and progress one step closer to winning our challenge.
The wounds tell too many different stories.
Oui, the matter begins to clear itself up wonderfully. The murderer was a man of great strength. He was feeble, it was a woman, it was a right-handed person, it was a left-handed person. Ah, c'est rigolo tout ça. And the victim, what does he do in all this? Does he cry out? Does he struggle? Does he defend himself? No. He awaits his doom with the greatest composure.
The box of matches suggests the round one belonged to Monsieur Ratchet.
I concur.
The pipe cleaner and the handkerchief are good clues.
Possibly. What can we learn from them?
Remember the bottle I found in the suitcase?
Oui, a sleeping draught, and the bottle half empty. It would be instructive to learn if Ratchet took his usual dosage last night.
What of the residue in the tumbler? A sleeping powder, perhaps? Such as that I found in the suitcase. It might explain why Monsieur Ratchet did not cry out when he was attacked.
A possibility. However, in my experience, the usual dose of a sleeping draught would not be strong enough to prevent awakening if one were violently attacked. Find the person who brought to Monsieur Ratchet the sleeping draught. I suggest his valet.
The gun was unfired.
He would certainly have defended himself if he had been able. For now, it might be better if you keep the gun with you for your protection. I would not like our collaboration cut short prematurely.
The broken watch tells us the time of death exactly.
Very convenient, the broken watches.
1:15. Well within Dr. Constantine's estimate of midnight to 2 a.m.
What you say is true.
Are the false teeth important?
Only to one who must wear them. And why you took for yourself the false teeth of the dead man is not for Poirot to ask. But I hope they prove themselves as useful to you as they undoubtedly did to him.
The small metal statuette. It is very old.
And possibly quite valuable. Take it with you. Learn more of it if you can. And possibly quite valuable. Take it with you. I suspect the secretary, Monsieur MacQueen, will be able to help us.
The footprints outside the window are important.
What did they say to you?
The killer may have fled the train.
And gone where? Still, they must be investigated.
I found the inscription REV 1318 printed on the hatband of his hat.
A curious inscription indeed for the hat.
I found only the cigar in the ashtray. No pipe.
Certainly, this is a clue masculine. Monsieur Ratchet smokes the cigar, lighting it with a round match, and someone else, still to be determined, smokes the pipe, lighting it with a flat match.
The letter H can help us find the owner of the handkerchief.
A clue feminine. So dainty. And to have the letter embroidered upon it is so convenient. One cannot complain of having no clues in this case.
If a man killed Ratchet,
After the sociable smoke,
then the woman came in later, not noticing he was dead, and attacked him as well.
also not noticing that she had dropped her handkerchief. Very fortunate for us that she was so unobservant.
I have learned nothing concerning the powder.
Alors, find the person who brought to Monsieur Ratchet a sleeping draught. I suggest his valet.
I have learned nothing concerning the medal statuette.
Indeed. I suspect the secretary, Monsieur MacQueen, will be able to help us. Merci, mademoiselle. Unfortunately, the report, it is not yet complete. There are still clues to be found in the compartment of Monsieur Ratchet. There are still clues to be found, mademoiselle. Search carefully.
The burnt paper could be significant.
What strikes you as most important?
The timetable is very complete now.
Oh, yes, it is essential to the understanding of the crime. Study it carefully.
We have many alibis we can use to eliminate suspects.
Yes, too many. Compare them all. Look for discrepancies. We must be certain that they do not leak the water.
I believe I have collected all the passports.
Unfortunately, I do not think so, mademoiselle. So please to make certain next time, huh? Remember our challenge. Unfortunately, I do not think so, mademoiselle. Please to make certain next time. Très bien, mademoiselle. You have done well.
I think I have secured all the fingerprints.
Unfortunately, I do not think so, mademoiselle. So please to make certain next time, huh? Remember our challenge. Unfortunately, I do not think so, mademoiselle. So please to make certain next time.
I don't yet have everything I need to take and record the suspect's fingerprints.
Très bien, mademoiselle. You have done well.
I believe I have compared the footprint cast to all the men's shoes.
Unfortunately, I do not think so, mademoiselle. Please to make certain next time. Remember our challenge. Unfortunately, I do not think so, mademoiselle. So please to make certain next time. Très bien, mademoiselle. Oh, you have done well.
Madame Hubbard heard a woman in Monsieur Ratchet's room.
Oui. And about the time you heard the noise and saw the woman in the scarlet kimono. So, does a woman speak to Monsieur Ratchet, murder him, drop a handkerchief with the letter H, then scurry off down the corridor in a scarlet kimono? Or does Madame Hubbard hallucinate a woman's voice as well as the man in her room?
The valet Masterman says Ratchet took less than his normal sleeping draught.
So, instead of a comatose Ratchet who would not struggle when the knife began its work, we have a Ratchet who might cry out.
But after the cry, I heard Ratchet tell Michel that there was nothing wrong. Monsieur MacQueen saw the woman in the scarlet kimono.
But not enough to identify her. And he says he saw Michel coming from the direction of the salon car, or at least someone in an attendant's uniform.
Colonel Arbuthnot saw the attendant and thinks he caught the scent of a woman.
Ah, the scent of a woman. You have found a romantic streak I would not have suspected one so stolid to possess.
Hildegard Schmidt saw an attendant leaving a compartment.
Oui, one of the middle rooms. Either Ratchet's or Madame Hubbard's. And his description? No, it is not Pierre Michel, this small dark man with a moustache who speaks in the high voice.
No, but he matches the description Ratchet gave Hardman of his enemy. Both Madame Hubbard and Mademoiselle Ohlson confirm the connecting door was locked.
An attendant's pass key opens even connecting doors, I think, so I am not so baffled by that locked door.
Colonel Arbuthnot saw Monsieur Hardman watching the corridor from his room.
Monsieur Hardman's door opens to the right, so unfortunately he could see little of the corridor, but he would have seen if anyone entered the Calais coach from the Athens-Paris coach.
The footprints in the snow belong to Foscarelli.
And his fingerprints are found upon the windowsill of Monsieur Ratchet's room. Yet he does not smoke a pipe, nor I think does the cambric handkerchief with the letter H belong to him.
The stiletto I found in the hut must be the murder weapon.
That would seem to be the obvious conclusion. No, it is the weapon of the underworld assassin, to be sure, and with fingerprints which match no one's aboard this train.
The steak knife I found by the cliff was clean. No blood or fingerprints.
It is a nuisance, that knife. On the face of it, it is of no importance. And yet, someone has taken the trouble to try and fling it over a cliff.
We have not one, but 2 additional attendants' uniforms.
2 uniforms? 2 knives? Possibly two murderers, one right-handed and one left? Can they have had the same plan, to sneak about disguised as attendants, in order to murder Monsieur Ratchet in his sleep? What a moment that must have been, as they encounter one another over the body. It is like a scene from a Marx Brothers movie, that.
Someone was hiding in Ratchet's crate.
A valuable statue is stolen. And then the thief decides to do what? Well, masquerade as the statue? To escape detection?
The missing statue is another motive for murder.
Why not? We have the possible revenge from the Armstrong kidnapping, a possible assassin from Ratchet's underworld past. So why not a thief who kills Ratchet to cover up his crime? If we find 9 more motives for the murder and 10 more knives, we at least will have explained all those stab wounds.
The books in Ratchet's crate were all references of use to the murderer.
Explain, mademoiselle.
Géographie Européenne would be helpful in following the route of the train and choosing the best spot for murder. Introduction à la Science could give information about sleeping draughts.
And Crime et Punition by Dostoevsky? Was the guilty conscience of the killer haunting him as it did the unfortunate Raskolnikov?
Matteo's fingerprints are on the padlock from the door of the hut.
That padlock interests me.
Why would Matteo have a key to a shepherd's hut in the middle of the mountains, near the spot where he would have no idea the train would be stopped by an avalanche? Monsieur Poirot, you don't think the avalanche was caused deliberately?
No, mademoiselle, I do not. There are enough fantastic elements to this crime already, without introducing the saboteurs.
But then how could his fingerprints come to be on that hut?
They were not on the hut, but on the padlock. Further investigation appears necessary on this point. The simplest course of action would be to ask Matteo how they came to be there.
The padlock was taken when Matteo's ham radio equipment was sabotaged.
Someone has gone to great trouble, it seems, to direct suspicion upon this young man. Yet how can he have reached the Calais coach unobserved?
Hardman's actions were very suspicious.
And the key he discovers in Michel's clothing that opens the door to the security room in the baggage car is suspicious as well.
MacQueen is the son of the district attorney involved in the Armstrong case.
Pardon, district attorney? What is that?
Some sort of police official, I believe. Princess Dragomiroff was Sonia Armstrong's godmother.
Oui, it is coincidence, or something more?
I have all the pieces. All that remains is for me to assemble them properly.
Très bien, mademoiselle. You have done well. Merci, mademoiselle. Unfortunately, the report it is not yet complete. We are now armed with much more additional knowledge than before. Continue the investigation, and do not be afraid to go over the ground you have already covered. We are now armed with much more additional knowledge than the first time you made the interrogations of our fellow passengers. So please speak with them again. Ask the questions subtle or intended to incite, but we must learn more. Also, the Calais coach has become very still. I think most of them are occupied elsewhere. I would suggest taking this opportunity to make any searches of the belongings you were unable to do earlier. And do not forget the baggage car or the Athens-Paris coach. And so we advance in our investigations. It is obvious that our fellow passengers have not been entirely forthright. You have still not had the opportunity to search all of the compartments, and there are other mysteries still to be explained. It is obvious that our fellow passengers have not been entirely forthright. I would suggest questioning them all again. Confront them with evidence you have uncovered, compare the alibis, and study your timetable. You have still not had the opportunity to search all of the compartments. Revisit those you have already searched as well. The situation aboard this train changes from moment to moment. Leave nothing to chance. And there are other mysteries still to be explained, such as the identity of the occupant of Monsieur Ratchet's crate. Is he the attendant the engineer saw board the train with Michel? A man small and dark? His letters to call are there in my valise. When you have the note from him, I will suggest what you should request on this radio of ham. His letters to call are there in my valise. When you have the note from him, I will suggest what you should request on this radio of ham. Eh bien, now that we have uncovered new evidence, do ask of Barnaby to dig deeper.
Can we use the ham radio to help the investigation?
Oh, but certainement. Oh, this is a marvelous stroke of luck. Too often the coincidences they help the criminal. What a refreshing change to have one that will aid Poirot. I have the friend, Monsieur Louis. His son Barnabas is a boy of much energy and interests. One of these is the radio of Ham, as his proud father reports in a recent correspondence. Young Barnaby can be our eyes and ears in the outside world. His letters to call are there in my valise in the letter from his father. Use the radio of Ham to find out more from him about our current predicament. Oh, he is an invaluable asset, mademoiselle. Do not forget to secure his letters, or you will not have the information needed to reach young Barnaby.
This book of Masterman's reveals more than he knows.
Love's Captive by the inestimable Mrs. Arabella Richardson, yes. And what does it reveal to you?
This driving license indicates Foscarelli has been a chauffeur.
A not unnatural profession for a man who loves the motor cars.
Hildegard Schmidt's recipe box is suggestive.
You remember at dinner how she was most opinionated with the waiter while studying the menu? And the label on the box, it is interesting as well. My lady's recipes. Now that suggests that she is accustomed to cooking for her employers. Not a duty one attaches to the lady's maid, n'est-ce pas?
Mary Debenham's handkerchief does not match the one found next door.
No. Despite the middle name of Hermione beginning with an H, I did not think that the expensive handkerchief would belong to her. No, the handkerchief of Mademoiselle Debenham is precisely the type one might expect to find in the luggage of a young Englishwoman of her class.
The postcard I found in Greta Ohlson's suitcase tells a story.
This card, it speaks to Poirot in many ways. Coney Island is, I think, on the Long Island of New York in America. A country she claims not to have visited. Mademoiselle Ohlson does not send the postcard to Sweden as she perhaps intended, but saves it as a keepsake for herself. It is not a happy memory, this. A last brief moment in the sun for a family soon to be swept away by the storm.
Countess Adrenyi's maiden name is Gilbert.
Not a very Hungarian name, that.
Her accent is more American than Hungarian. The scarlet kimono turns up in my luggage. I swear to you it does not belong to me.
Oh, mademoiselle, I have no doubt of that. You have vigorously pursued its owner's identity. No. It is a defiance, you understand? It is a gauntlet thrown down. Very well. We take it up.
Countess Andrenyi is Helena Gilbert, Sonia Armstrong's sister.
Oui. It is easy to see why her devoted husband would try to hide that fact. Her account of the Armstrong household is of the greatest interest. Please to go over the points of her testimony that struck you.
The handkerchief with the H belongs to the princess.
I confess I should have remembered that in the Cyrillic alphabet, Arch is written as N. And she has a strong motive to want Ratchet dead. But are we meant to believe that this elderly woman prances about in the scarlet silk kimono? Or could strike with such ferocity?
Schmidt is accustomed to cooking for her employers, as we suspected.
And her mistake in how long she has been in the employ of the princess is remarkable. A difference 1/3 less than her mistress claims. 10 years. We must look deeper into this. What course do you suggest?
Foscarelli was the Armstrong chauffeur.
It was a deduction most simple.
Masterman was Colonel Armstrong's valet.
And his Batman during the war.
Greta Ohlson was Daisy Armstrong's nurse.
This may explain the zeal with which she cares for her young charges at her mission, and why she never had any children of her own.
Barnaby confirms Colonel Arbuthnot served with Colonel Armstrong.
Oui, the Royal Northumberland Fusiliers. A regiment most distinguished.
Barnaby has discovered that the last name of the Armstrong cook was Schmidt.
All of her ladies have said that she was a wonderful cook.
Dr. Constantine is a veterinarian.
The only man on the train who answers the description of Ratchet's unknown enemy, and that is his only secret? Bah!
Pierre Michel has no family.
Never married, parents dead, his sister, her husband, and a niece dead in the car crash? This is enough to explain the sadness that haunts him, and yet he carries the happy family photograph with him, a wife and a child.
The nursemaid's full name was Suzanne Ferrier.
French. Yet no apparent connection to any of the others involved in the case. Well, not every clue will lead somewhere.
Cyrus Hardman has worked for McNeil's for almost 15 years.
I wonder.
The father of Linda Arden's children was named Gilbert.
No marriage, just children. The smart set is often not so smart, I think.
The nursemaid Suzanne, who threw herself to her death, was French.
Oui. To know her full name might be instructive.
The Armstrong nurse was named New Daughter.
An odd name, that. What nationality do you think?
Slavic or Scandinavian?
Well, perhaps. I think that the Countess has the most fanciful mind and is quite adept at the word games. She is playing them now. Neue Daughter sounds, I think, only by coincidence, vaguely Scandinavian. Ohlson is, of course, authentic Scandinavian.
New Daughter. New Daughter. Ohlson. Old son.
It is not yet fact, but it is worth pursuing.
Helena Gilbert's governess was an old hag named Freebody.
What an unfortunate name for an old hag is Freebody. It is more apt a name for the generation of flippers.
Flappers. The fast young women were called flappers in America. Thank goodness skirts are finally lengthening again.
As you say. I wonder if during your time at university in England you had occasion to patronize the clothing shops for the fashionable woman in London.
No, Monsieur Poirot, not on a student's budget.
There is such a shop near my own tailor called Debenham and Freebody, and the description the Countess gives to you is as far from the attractive young woman Mary Debenham as one could hope to get.
The Countess recognized no one on the train.
Including Madame la Princesse, her sister's godmother? Monsieur MacQueen she may also have seen, but he has grown much, of course, and the appearance changes. But a woman of the advanced years of the princess does not change so much, I think. No, I find this lack of recognition the most damning point against the Countess in all of her evasions and lies. So you see now why the Countess's failure to recognize anyone grows beyond suspicious.
Perhaps she is nearsighted. If she were the second murderer in Ratchet's room last night, that might explain why she didn't notice he was already dead.
You know, at times you remind me so of my good friend Hastings.
I have all the pieces. All that remains is for me to assemble them properly.
Très bien, mademoiselle. You have done well. Merci, mademoiselle. Unfortunately, the report, it is not yet complete. We are now armed with much more additional knowledge than before. Continue the investigation, and do not be afraid to go over the ground you have already covered. Mademoiselle Marceau, you will recall my observation to you of the many classes and nationalities one meets when traveling?
Yes, of course.
Try to imagine whether such an assembly would ever likely to be collected under any other conditions. Très bien, mademoiselle. You have done well.
Michel, who was the woman in the scarlet kimono?
I am sorry, mademoiselle. I was updating the inventory of the Calais coach supplies. I did not see her face.
What compartment did she come out of?
I am not sure. One of the rooms in the middle of the car, I think. Madame Hubbard's, perhaps, or Monsieur Rachet. By the time I noticed her, she was moving away from me.
Has anyone been up and about?
Only you and the other lady. It has been quiet for some time.
Has anything unusual occurred?
Well, there was the avalanche, of course. Later, Madame Hubbard insisted she saw a man in her room, but I could find no one.
Did you hear a thud a moment before I appeared just now?
No, I heard nothing, mademoiselle. Perhaps it was in the compartment next to yours, Monsieur Poirot, perhaps.
Monsieur Klaus, I understand you need olive oil and vinegar for tonight's meal.
Yeah, the food porters in Istanbul did not load enough. I am shamed if I cannot prepare the promised Wiener Schnitzel and Erdäpfel salad for the Count and Countess Andrigny.
I have the olive oil and vinegar you need for tonight's meal.
Let me see them. Yeah, this olive oil is fresh enough and of sufficient quality. The quality of this vinegar will have to do, but there is not nearly enough. Tell me at once where you found it.
In the baggage car.
There must be far more vinegar for the authentic Erdäpfel salad. I will get it myself. Thanks to a master chef's perseverance, the Wiener Schnitzel and Erdäpfel salad will be served as promised. Do not disturb me. Someone has stolen my Black Forest cake batter, and I must make it once more. Do not disturb me. I do not have enough vinegar or olive oil for the Count and Countess. I will be shamed.
Monsieur Klaus, I understand you need olive oil and vinegar for tonight's meal.
Yeah, the food porters in Istanbul did not load enough. I am shamed if I cannot prepare the promised Wiener Schnitzel and Erdäpfel salad for the Count and Countess Andrigny.
I have the olive oil and vinegar you need for tonight's meal.
Let me see them. Yeah, this olive oil is fresh enough and of sufficient quality. The quality of this vinegar will have to do, but there is not nearly enough. Tell me at once where you found it.
In the baggage car.
There must be far more vinegar for the authentic Eavesdropping salad. I will get it myself. Thanks to a master chef's perseverance, the Wiener Schnitzel and Eavesdropping salad will be served as promised. Do not disturb me. Someone has stolen my Black Forest cake batter, and I must make it once more. Do not disturb me. I do not have enough vinegar or olive oil for the Count and Countess. I will be shamed. Thanks to a master chef's perseverance, the Wiener Schnitzel and Eavesdropping salad will be served as promised. Do not disturb me. Someone has stolen my Black Forest cake batter, and I must make it once more. There will be no entry to my kitchen ever. There will be no entry to my kitchen ever. No one is to enter my kitchen. Stay away. I have a brand new cleaver, and I am not afraid to use it. You will not enter as long as I am here. I protect my kitchen. There will be no entry to my kitchen ever. No one is to enter my kitchen. Stay away. I have a brand new cleaver, and I am not afraid to use it. You will not enter as long as I am here. I protect my kitchen.
Silence, s'il vous plaît. It is now time to hear what Mademoiselle Marceau has decided.
Here are my thoughts on the first solution. It is not the truth, but fits the facts, at least one set of facts, and it will be the simplest by far to explain. My opinion of the second solution is this. It is at least most of the truth, as much as 12 people in this car knew. They are self-confessed murderers, and yet, no, that word is wrong. Justice was done here. Of a kind, perhaps not the justice I would have preferred. In that, I agree with Colonel Arbuthnot. But still, can there be anyone, knowing Ratchet and knowing these people as well as I now do after only a few hours, who can't see the rightness of their cause? These are my feelings about the third solution. It is the whole truth. More heartache than even these 12 people knew. And it must stop somewhere, mustn't it? There are lives to build and rebuild here. I think of Greta's words on her postcard, and of the family that had one last day in the sun at Coney Island before the storm engulfed them. I think they all, including Monsieur Perkinson, deserve a chance in the sun again. Therefore, it is my belief, Monsieur Poirot, the first theory you put forward was the correct one. An unknown enemy of Monsieur Ratchet, whom the murdered man feared, sneaked aboard the train disguised as an attendant and is responsible for the murder. Unfortunately, he is still at large, or lies frozen in a snowbank somewhere awaiting the spring thaw. I suggest that is the solution we offer to the Yugoslavian police when we arrive in Broad. Beneath that very proper exterior, Masterman is a hopeless romantic.
Perhaps. But I fear that this revelation would only be of embarrassment to Monsieur Masterman. It does not advance our investigation.
He was in the military.
Most men of a certain age fought in the war, mademoiselle. Even Poirot. Still, it is worth pursuing. Most men of a certain age fought in the war, mademoiselle. Even Poirot. Still, it is worth pursuing. Well done.
Have you seen any other passengers about?
No, mademoiselle, I have seen no one for hours. Thank you.
May I have your passport, please?
Oui, mademoiselle. You will find it in room 1-2 in the Athens Paris coach.
What can you tell me of your movements after dinner?
I came in here to attend to the bar after everyone went to their rooms. I cleaned the salon car and went to the Athens Paris coach to rest.
What time was that?
I closed the bar at midnight, so it would be a few minutes after that.
Did you see or hear anything unusual last night?
No, mademoiselle. The Athens Paris coach was very quiet. And of course the door leading to the Calais coach is locked. One can pass through only if Pierre Michel or Matteo opens it for him.
What do you know of Klaus, the chef?
An artiste de la cuisine, and just as temperamental as a painter. Vous comprenez? No one is allowed to enter his kitchen.
His menu seems to overemphasize meat dishes.
It is true that. They call him Le Boucher, but not to his face, of course.
The butcher. It suits him. Klaus seems even more temperamental than usual today.
I fear an approaching catastrophe, mademoiselle.
Worse than avalanches and murder?
Certainement. Special dinner menus, as you no doubt know, are printed in advance of our departure in Istanbul. Here is tonight's menu. As you can see, tonight is to serve Wiener Schnitzel and Eavesdropping salad, native dishes of Austria. in honor of the Count and Countess Andreny.
Veal and potatoes. Why does this not surprise me?
But so many have asked for the salads, almost in defiance of Chef Klaus, and the porters have failed to put aboard enough vinegar and olive oil for the Edapfer-Salat. Klaus is in a rage. The embarrassment will be too much for him.
What do you know of Klaus's movements last night?
As usual, he stayed in his precious kitchen, preparing his pastries and sauces for the next day's meals. He passed through the salon car a few minutes before midnight in a rage because one of the steak knives is missing. Passengers will take anything as a souvenir if it is not bolted down. Why, the things that have gone missing on this trip would astound you.
But perhaps they were not all taken as souvenirs. Perhaps some person, in order to do good, borrowed them?
Mademoiselle, forgive me, but I do not understand what you are talking about.
Let it pass. What did Klaus do after he entered the salon car?
Nothing. We went together to the Athens Paris coach.
Do you know Monsieur Ratchet was killed with a knife?
I had heard this, oui, but why? You think Klaus may have stabbed him?
A chef that temperamental? If someone was to criticize his masterpieces?
Mais non, mademoiselle. C'est très absurd. Klaus would not stab anyone. Not with a knife. He would hack them into little medallions with his cleaver. Now, if you will excuse me, mademoiselle, someone has taken the sign I used to announce special drinks. I must try to find another. Now, if you will excuse me, mademoiselle, I must take some drink orders in the Calais coach.
Say, this is mighty nice. What can I do for you?
My name is Antoinette Marceau. I'm assisting Monsieur Poirot with his investigation. You know the name, perhaps?
It does seem familiar, only I always thought it was a dressmaker.
Monsieur, for all our sakes, please do not repeat that in front of Monsieur Poirot. Do you promise me?
I think I just about promised you anything. Oh, darn it, there I go, sounding like Mr. Ratchet. You had enough of him, I expect, at the market in Istanbul. I didn't mean anything by it except, well, except it's the truth. I love your accent. A little bit of British, a little bit of French, a lot of heaven. Darn it, there I go again.
It is not a problem, monsieur, but we must be serious now, don't you agree?
Serious, yes. Yes, of course.
You are Monsieur Ratchet's secretary?
Yes, for just over a year now. I met him in Persia. I'd come over from New York to look into an oil concession. I don't suppose you want to hear all about that. Getting oil out of Persia can get pretty difficult these days. Anyway, my friends and I had been let in rather badly over it. Mr. Ratchet was in the same hotel. He just had a row with his secretary, so he offered me the job. He was collecting antiquities, but not knowing any languages, was having kind of a hard time of it. I was pretty down and out, so I jumped at it.
What can you tell me about Monsieur Ratchet?
The actual truth is, Miss Marceau, it is Miss, isn't it? Wait, don't have to answer. None of my business. The truth is, I don't know anything about him. He never spoke of himself or his life in America.
May I have your passport, please?
Sure. Here you go.
What is your full name, age, and address?
Hector Willard MacQueen. I'm 28. You're about what, 24, 25?
Your address, Monsieur MacQueen?
That's right, Hector. Always saying the wrong thing. That's me. I live at 58 Warren Street, New York.
You must have formed some theory about him, Monsieur MacQueen.
Well, yes, I did. For one thing, I don't believe Ratchet was his real name. I think he left America in order to escape from someone or something. I think he was successful until a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, what happened then?
He began to get letters, threatening letters.
Did you see these threatening letters?
Yes, it was part of my job to attend to his correspondence.
Do you still have the letters?
I've still got a couple in my files.
How did Monsieur Ratchet act when he received the first letter?
It's difficult to say. He passed it off with a laugh in that quiet way of his. But somehow, I felt that there was a good deal going on underneath the quietness.
Did you know that Monsieur Ratchet had asked Monsieur Poirot to help him?
No, I had no idea.
Did you like your employer?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I can't exactly say. He was usually quite pleasant in his manner. I'll tell you the truth. Antoinette, sorry, Miss Marceau, I disliked and distrusted him. He was, I am sure, a cruel and dangerous man.
Were you on good terms with your employer?
This is where I'm supposed to go all goose-fleshy and shifty-eyed, right? Like some thriller? You got nothing on me! And so on? Yeah, sorry, but Ratchet and I were on perfectly good terms.
When did you last see Monsieur Ratchet alive?
Last evening about 10 o'clock, I guess. Masterman fetched me. Mr. Ratchet wanted me to take down some memoranda for him.
On what subject?
Some pottery he'd bought, and a statue we were bringing back to Paris with us. It's in the baggage car.
Monsieur MacQueen, you are correct. Ratchet was an alias.
I knew it! Who was he?
He was Sirkeci, the man behind several notorious kidnapping cases, including the famous affair of little Daisy Armstrong.
That damned skunk! If I'd known that, I'd have cut off my right hand before I'd write another letter for him. May he burn in hell!
I didn't mean to upset you.
I have reason to be upset. My father was the district attorney who handled the case. I saw Mrs. Armstrong more than once. She was a lovely woman, so gentle and heartbroken. If ever a man deserved what he got, Cassetti's the guy. I'm rejoicing. A man like that wasn't fit to live.
You almost feel you could have murdered him yourself?
I do. Seems I'm kind of incriminating myself here.
Can you describe your movements last night?
Let's see. I fell into conversation with that Englishman, Colonel Arbuthnot. Then I went to take down some memoranda for letters Mr. Ratchet wanted written, like I told you. When I came out, the colonel was down the hall waiting while the attendant made up his bed. He came along back to my room here, and we discussed world politics. The government of India, the Wall Street crisis. I don't as a rule cotton much to Britishers. They're a stiff-necked lot. But Arbuthnot is all right.
Did you hear or see anyone in the corridor while you were talking?
Let's see. Yes. The attendant passed along once from the direction of the restaurant car. I caught a glimpse of his uniform. Then I do remember some woman in a silk, scarlet something or other. Again, just a glimpse. She was headed the other way, towards the restaurant car.
Did you see her return?
No. Now that you mention it, I don't think I did. But I suppose she must have.
What time was it that the colonel left you?
Pretty late. Getting on for 2 o'clock, I'd say.
You were together when the train stopped?
Yeah, shook me up a bit. But the colonel was as cool as ice water. He's been in some tough scrapes, I'd guess. A near train wreck didn't even make him blink.
What happened after Colonel Arbuthnot said goodnight?
I called the attendant to make up my bed, and then hit the sack.
What sack did you hit, and why?
I went to bed. Slept till morning.
Do you smoke a pipe, Monsieur MacQueen?
Nope. Don't smoke at all, as a matter of fact. I know they say it's healthy, but I don't believe them.
During the evening, did you leave the train at all?
Only when Arbuthnot and I got out at Belgrade to stretch our legs. When we saw you. But it was bitterly cold, so we hopped back on again.
Which door did you use?
The one closest to here.
Do you remember if the door you used was bolted?
Yes, I seem to remember it was. At least there was a kind of bar that fitted across the handle.
Did you replace the bar when you returned to the train?
You know, I don't think I did. I remember now. I left it unbolted for you. Say, listen, since we know that Ratchet was really that swine Cassetti, there's something you should know.
Yes?
One night, late, after he'd received those threatening letters, I heard him working at my typewriter. He never did that. He always dictated his letters to me. From then on, wherever we were, he insisted on access to the safe. Whatever that document was, it was important enough that he traveled with it wherever we went. If there wasn't a safe available, he had one installed. I know for a fact he had one installed in the security room in the baggage car. I saw it when we were loading his crate.
Do you have the combination?
If he didn't trust me to type it for him, you really think he'd give me the combination? Hello again.
Monsieur MacQueen.
I love how you say my name.
Will you be serious?
I am serious. Sorry. I better be careful. I've realized I'm definitely the most suspicious character on the train. All you have to do is find a will in which the old man left me all his money, and that'll just about clinch it.
Is there a will?
Not that I know of. He'd never leave me a cent, really. I was just useful to him. Languages and so on. I'm no linguist, but I can get by in German and Italian and French.
You told me you knew Sonia Armstrong.
Yes, I did. My dad was the district attorney on the case. So yes. Well, I was just a kid, of course. A teenager. Schoolboy crush, I suppose, and all that.
It occurs to me that in spite of everything, the murder may not have to do with the Armstrong case at all.
Oh? I thought that must be pretty settled.
We have much evidence pointing to the existence of an outsider aboard the train. One who disguises himself, uses a stiletto to kill, then vanishes into the snow. What do you think?
It's certainly a possibility, but in that case, he'll be hard to catch now. He's had quite a head start.
Or he could be out there frozen in a snowdrift or lying broken at the bottom of a rocky ravine. The body may never be found until the spring thaw.
Well, that conjures up an unpleasantly graphic image. You seem to really enjoy this stuff.
I enjoy the investigation, monsieur. I certainly do not enjoy the fact that a man has died.
No, of course not. Say, I was just wondering. I mean, I have no plans to return to the States right away. I may find myself back in Istanbul. I was wondering if you might consider having dinner with me some night.
I might consider it if you promise to relax.
Relax? Sure, you bet! You will? Say, that's swell!
I really do not think I could, Monsieur MacQueen.
Oh? Why not?
I'm not sure I'll still be in Istanbul.
Where will you be?
Wherever it is, I'm very certain I will not be a clerk there. I would be happy to, providing you are not the murderer.
Oh, naturally. I wouldn't expect you'd want to then.
I expect not. And if you're in a Yugoslavian prison...
That sounds pretty unwholesome.
And I doubt they'd let you have guests in for dinner. These are Monsieur Ratchet's files?
Sure, help yourself.
This file folder would be perfect to hold the many passports we must collect.
May I take this empty file folder?
Anything. Take anything. I sure love talking to you. I just wish I had something to say. I can't make heads or tails of the thing. I know I shouldn't say it, but I'm glad Ratchet's dead. You're the one bright spot in this whole business, if you don't mind me saying so. I can't say I'm unhappy Ratchet's dead for 2 reasons. He deserved it, and I met you. You've got 10 times the spunk of any girl I've ever known. Say, that's a neat trick. Do they match?
No.
I wonder if I should be annoyed or relieved.
What can you tell me about this statuette?
It's from India, circa 1000 AD. It's made out of zinc. Quite valuable. One of Mr. Ratchet's favorite pieces.
Yes, miss?
Monsieur Masterman?
Yes?
My name is Antoinette Marceau. I'm assisting Monsieur Poirot in his inquiries.
Yes, the attendant has explained that to me. The service is quite good, I must say. I prize good service highly, of course. My compliments.
Thank you. I would like to ask you some questions.
Yes, I expect you would. I shall help in any way I can.
You are the valet of Monsieur Ratchet?
Yes.
May I have your passport, please?
Of course. Here you are.
Your full name, age, and address.
Edward Henry Masterman, 51. 21 Friar Street, Clerkenwell.
When did you last see Monsieur Ratchet?
It must have been about 9:35 or 9:40 last night, miss.
Can you tell me what happened when you saw Monsieur Ratchet?
I went into Mr. Ratchet as usual, miss, and attended to his wants.
What were your duties exactly?
To fold or hang up his clothes, miss. Put his dental plate in water and see that he had everything he needed.
Was his manner the same as usual?
Well, miss, I think he was upset.
In what way upset?
Over our letter he'd been reading. He asked me if it was I who had put it in his compartment. Of course, I told him I hadn't done any such thing, but he swore at me and found fault with everything I did.
Did your master ever take a sleeping draught?
Always when travelling by train, miss. He said he couldn't sleep otherwise. Even the express affected him, I am sorry to say.
Did he take it last night?
I poured it into a glass and put it on the table for him, though I didn't actually see him drink it.
Was it unusual for him to swear at you?
Oh, no, miss. He lost his temper easily. It just depended what had happened to upset him.
Do you know what drug he was in the habit of taking?
I couldn't say I'm sure, miss. There's no name on the bottle. Just sleeping draught and to be taken at bedtime.
When was his usual bedtime? When aboard the train?
Midnight, miss, or later. With the avalanche last night, I fancy he wouldn't fall asleep until closer to 1.
Did you mix his usual dose of the sleeping draught?
A half dose only, miss, at Mr. Ratchet's request. I can't say the reason.
What happened next?
I asked him if there was anything else he required. He asked me to send for Mr. MacQueen. Then I left him.
Was Monsieur Ratchet an early riser?
It depended, miss, upon his mood. Sometimes he'd get up for breakfast. Sometimes he wouldn't get up till just on lunchtime. I would wait until the attendant came to collect me.
Did you know that your master had enemies?
Yes, miss. I had heard him discussing some disquieting letters with Mr. MacQueen.
Did you like your employer, Masterman?
I should hardly like to say that, miss. He was a generous employer.
But you didn't like him.
Shall we put it that I don't care very much for Americans, miss?
Do you know of any bad blood between your master and Monsieur MacQueen?
No, miss. Mr. MacQueen was a very pleasant gentleman. For an American.
How long have you been with Monsieur Ratchet?
Just over 9 months, miss. Before that, I was with Sir Henry Tomlinson in Grosvenor Square. I was with him for several years before he left for East Africa.
Have you ever been in America?
No, miss.
Do you remember the Armstrong kidnapping case?
Well, yes, I remember reading something about it. A little baby girl, wasn't it? Very shocking affair. But what has that...
Your employer, Monsieur Ratchet, was the man behind the kidnapping.
I'm at a loss for words, miss. I can hardly believe it.
Are you a pipe smoker?
No, miss. I only smoke cigarettes. Gaspers, miss.
What did you do after leaving your master?
I told Mr. MacQueen, miss, that the master wanted him. Then I came along here to my compartment and read. I was in bed by 10:30.
Who do you share this room with?
A big Italian fellow.
Does he speak English?
A kind of English, miss. He's been in America. Chicago, I understand. He was in here playing cards with another American, a Mr. Hardman. The game broke up soon after I entered, and Mr. Hardman left.
Do you and the Italian gentleman talk together much?
No, miss. I prefer to read. At present, I'm quite enjoying Love's Captive by a Mrs. Arabella Richardson. At about 10:30, the Italian fellow wanted to go to bed, so the attendant came in and made the beds up.
Did you go to bed then?
I went to bed, but I didn't sleep, miss. I had a toothache.
I am so sorry. Was your toothache painful?
Most painful, miss. I applied some oil of cloves, which relieved the pain a little, but I still was not able to get to sleep. I turned the light on over my berth and continued to read, to take my mind off of it, as it were.
You did not sleep at all?
I finally dropped off about 4 this morning.
Did the Italian gentleman sleep?
Him? Oh, he snored. I confess I envied Mr. Ratchet his sleeping draught, miss.
Did your companion leave the compartment at all during the night?
No, miss.
Did you leave the compartment at all?
No, miss.
Did you hear anything during the night?
I don't think so, miss. The train being at a standstill made it all very quiet.
Monsieur Masterman, you were once in military service?
Yes, miss, but I can't think how you could know.
Love's Captive by Mrs. Arabella Richardson.
Ah, yes. One of the privileges a soldier retains after he's mustered out. Access to the Royal Military Library. It's quite well stocked. Not all strategy and tactics and memoirs, as you've discovered.
What was your regiment?
Miss Marceau, I'm going to tell you the truth. My service is, of course, a matter of record. I don't wish to hide it. I'm quite proud of it, as a matter of fact, but it's easily researched, and the connections will be found.
Connections?
I'm sure you must already suspect. Yes, I knew Colonel Armstrong. I was his Batman in the war, and afterwards his valet in New York. I'm afraid I concealed that fact when you questioned me earlier. It was very wrong of me, miss. I feel better now that I've made a clean breast of it.
Would you like to change your story about last night?
Why, no. It is as I told you.
Do you have anything more to tell me of the Italian gentleman?
No, miss, and I hope you're not suspecting Tonio in any way. Tonio wouldn't hurt a fly, and I can state positively that he never left our compartment all last night. Tonio may be a foreigner, miss, but he's a very gentle creature, really. Not like those nasty murdering mafiosi one reads about.
You seem to know Tonio better than you led me to believe.
Well, yes, we work together. He hasn't told you yet? I thought he had. That's why I... Oh, dear. I think I have nothing more to say.
Foscarelli told me he worked for the Armstrongs.
Yes, I knew he would. That's why I thought it best if I told you the truth, too. I've told you all I know, miss. I'm sorry, miss. I'm quite tired due to my lack of sleep. I'm not up to more conversation at the moment. If I think of anything else that might help your inquiries, I promise to let you know. Really, miss, you know my secret. There's nothing more I can add. I shan't change my story now, no matter how much you badger me. I've said all I'm going to say. No, those belong to the Italian person.
Are these your shoes?
Yes, they are. Please don't spill whatever you have in that bucket on them.
Are these your shoes? Do you have a plan to the Athens-Paris coach?
Si, señorita.
Which rooms are occupied in this car?
The Greek doctor is the only passenger. He is in room 13. I have taken room 15 there to sleep in, and room 16 for my equipment. I hope it is all right. Pierre Michel is using room 11, the chef de cuisine is in 9, Lucien the waiter is in 1-2, the engineer is resting in 10 when not attending to the boiler, the fireman rests in 3-4.
What equipment?
I am a ham radio operator. Usually I carry the equipment in the baggage car. There is no time to use it when I'm on duty, and anyway, no power. But when we were stopped so suddenly, I thought to check it and found my telegraph key destroyed. I don't understand it. It was packed carefully. I brought the rest here to my room to keep it safe.
Did anyone pass between this car and the Calais coach last night?
Only Pierre. He came through and we talked for a few minutes about the snow and what it will do to the schedule.
When was this?
Sometime after 1 a.m. A few minutes only. We talked for 10 minutes or so. Then Michel fancied he heard a bell. He opened the doors between the two coaches and we both heard it plainly. A bell. Ringing repeatedly. Michel ran to answer it.
You boarded the train in Belgrade?
Si, señorita.
Why were you so late? Your passenger must have boarded by himself, and you yourself almost missed the train.
But this is not so. I was preparing my car as it was being attached. I myself welcomed the Greek doctor and showed him to compartment 13.
Mind if I look around?
No, of course not. Señorita, I swear, all that I have told you is the truth. If I can think of anything more, I will gladly tell you. I regret I know nothing else that can help. I cannot assist you further, I'm afraid. It is all most distressing.
Matteo, your fingerprint was found on a hut in the forest.
That is not possible. I have not left the train. My duty is here.
I myself took an impression of your fingerprint from the padlock on the door.
Padlock? Padlock, you say? A moment, señorita. The case my radio was in had a padlock on it, but it was not locked. I used it only to keep the case closed. Now that I think of it, when I removed the radio, the padlock was missing. Do you think someone sabotaged my radio?
It's possible. Do you have the key?
Si, señorita. Here it is.
I found this button from your tunic in the American lady's compartment. Bonjour, Monsieur Michel.
I have lost no button, mademoiselle. There must be some mistake.
Then perhaps it was dropped by the man she said was in her room.
There was no one there. The lady must have imagined it.
I need to ask you some questions about Monsieur Ratchet's death.
But of course, Mademoiselle Marceau. I will do anything I can to help.
When was the body discovered?
The valet of Monsieur Rachet, he tapped several times at the door this morning. There was no answer. Then, half an hour ago, Lucien, the waiter, came. He wanted to know if Monsieur was taking déjeuner. It was 11 o'clock, you comprehend.
Continue.
I opened the door for him with my pass key. But there is a chain, too, and that is fastened. There is no answer, and it is very still in there, and so cold. The window open. I borrow the engineer's hammer and break the chain and go in. Monsieur Rachet was... it was terrible. The chain was fastened. It must have been suicide?
I'm sorry, Michel. A person does not commit suicide by stabbing himself 12 times.
No. I suppose not.
Did anyone call for you last night after we spoke?
Yes. I made up the bed of the young American gentleman, Mr. Rachet's secretary.
At what time?
It must have been about a half hour later.
1:45.
About that, yes. The English colonel from number 15 was with him. The colonel went back to his own compartment as I prepared the American gentleman's bed.
Did you see anyone moving about last night after we spoke?
The English colonel returned to his compartment. No one after that.
Did you leave the car at any time last night after Belgrade?
Well, I did go back to talk to Matteo, the attendant in the Athens-Paris car.
When was that?
Not long after 1.
How long were you gone?
A few minutes only. One of my bells rang. You remember, it was the American lady. She had rung several times. I hope the investigation will be concluded successfully and soon. There is nothing more I can tell you. This will mean so much trouble for the Express. Is there anything mademoiselle requires? How can I assist you? I want to help in any way I can. Mademoiselle has but to command, and I will attend to it instantly. Is there anything mademoiselle requires? How can I assist you? I want to help in any way I can. Mademoiselle has but to command, and I will attend to it instantly.
I would like a key to the baggage car.
Please, take one of mine.
Why do you have more than one key to the baggage car?
I often assist with the loading and unloading at the smaller stations. Sometimes I must loan a key to the handlers.
Please give me the key to the Athens-Paris coach.
Here is mine. Keep it as long as you like.
I will need your pass key for all the rooms.
I have closed all the beds except for Monsieur Rachet's, of course. I will need it back if we must remain here overnight, so that I can again make up the beds.
You may have it if that becomes necessary. Where is the key to the security room in the baggage car?
Mademoiselle, that key is kept only by the station masters.
I would like a key to the baggage car.
Please, take one of mine.
Why do you have more than one key to the baggage car?
I often assist with the loading and unloading at the smaller stations. Sometimes I must loan a key to the handlers.
Please give me the key to the Athens-Paris coach.
Here is mine. Keep it as long as you like.
I will need your pass key for all the rooms.
I have closed all the beds except for Monsieur Rachet's, of course. I will need it back if we must remain here overnight, so that I can again make up the beds.
You may have it if that becomes necessary. Where is the key to the security room in the baggage car?
Mademoiselle, that key is kept only by the station masters.
Ce n'est rien. Je me suis trompé.
Bien, monsieur.
There you are. I've been ringing and ringing.
I beg your pardon, madame. Voulez-vous quelque chose? You require?
There is a man in my compartment.
But, madame, as you can see, there is nowhere a man could hide himself.
I woke up and a man was there. I felt it.
You say yourself, madame, that your door was bolted. How did he enter? How did he depart?
Avalanches. Intruders. What's next?
We must contact the Yugoslavian police in Vinkovio Broad.
Yugoslavian police? Are you mad? They will detain us all for weeks while they trample evidence and bluster about with no idea how to solve a murder. Nah, if only we were in Greece.
Dr. Constantine, you must learn all you can about the murder.
Your faith in my powers is gratifying, miss. But already I have learned all that my expertise can tell me. I am no detective.
Monsieur Poirot, I appeal to you. We cannot wait for the Yugoslavian police.
They will detain us all for weeks while they trample evidence and bluster about with no idea how to solve a murder. Ah, if only we were in Greece.
Take command of the investigation.
Oh, must I?
We both know the longer a crime goes uninvestigated, the more difficult it becomes to solve.
Ah, yes, of course, I remember. You are the student of crime. And what you say is very true. All the same.
You can be on your way to your important case in England. We can avoid delays, annoyances, and 1,000,001 inconveniences for all the passengers.
I am addressing an important medical conference in London in 2 days.
Oui, c'est vrai. Any additional delay would be difficult.
Monsieur Poirot, my job isn't much, but it's all I have. The avalanche, your injury, now a murder. If it isn't solved, I will lose my job.
No, you cannot be blamed. I will have a word with Marcel. You have my guarantee that he will not fire you.
Solve the mystery. All we need say when the police arrive is, here is the murderer.
Mademoiselle, use your own powers of observation. Alors Poirot, he is confined to bed in the most serious of pain. How can he take command of anything?
In my scrapbook, I have a quote from you. How does it go? To solve a case, a man has only to sit back in a chair and think. Use the little grey cells of your mind.
I have often used the murderer's own words to spring my trap. And now I am caught by my own. Well done. Eh bien, mademoiselle, I will do what I can. I ask only that you do my legwork. This would appeal to you, I think.
You know it would.
I will issue to you the challenge I once made to my friend Captain Hastings. Accept, and we will play a little game between ourselves. You will need to use your own little grey cells as much as Poirot. And in the end, we will see if the student of crime is ready to graduate. Refuse? I will guide your investigations much more. Either way, the crime, it will be solved. It is an important decision you must make now before we proceed. I will not ask again. Do you accept?
I am honored. I gladly accept the challenge.
Excellent. Now, if you reach an impasse, think only, what would Poirot do? Imagine that I am there beside you, offering counsel. It may help. So, we begin. Dr. Constantine, take her next door.
I am no match for the foremost detective of our time. I'll be content helping you.
As you wish. If you reach an impasse, think only, what would Poirot do? Imagine that I am there beside you, offering counsel. It may help. Oh, the sight of the body will not discomfort you too much, I hope.
Oh, No, I suppose I can do that. I need a moment to decide.
Time is of the essence, mademoiselle. Pray do not take too long.
Who are you, monsieur?
My name is Constantine. There has been a savage murder done in the Calais coach, miss.
I have ordered all of the train doors to the outside to be sealed, with the exception of the rear door of the Athens-Paris coach, so that the engineer and the fireman of the train may keep the engine's boiler provided with the coal.
Oh, no! Who has been killed?
The American in the room next to this one. Ratchet. You're in charge, I suppose. What do we do now?
What has happened, Monsieur Poirot?
Murder, mademoiselle, of the most savage nature. I have ordered all of the train doors to the outside to be sealed, with the exception of the rear door of the Athens-Paris coach, so that the engineer and fireman of the train may keep the engine's boiler provided with the coal. It would become very cold in here otherwise without the steam heat. The attendant...
His name is Matteo, I believe.
Matteo will inform us immediately if anyone else attempts to depart the train. Fortunately, the only passenger in the Athens-Paris coach is Dr. Constantine here. He has examined the body. Doctor, Mademoiselle Marceau represents the owners of this train. You may speak freely.
Oh, no! Who has been killed?
Monsieur Ratchet. So what shall we do, mademoiselle? Monsieur Ratchet. So what shall we do, mademoiselle?
How many wounds are there, Doctor?
I make it 12 wounds. 1 or 2 are so slight as to be mere scratches. On the other hand, at least 3 would be capable of causing death.
Some wounds seem to have bled more than others.
You see these 2 wounds, here and here? They are deep. Each cut must have severed blood vessels, and yet the edges do not gape. They have not bled as one would have expected.
The wounds are scattered all over the torso.
Yes, and you see this wound here, under the right arm, near the right shoulder. Could you deliver such a blow? I have a pencil if you would like to try it.
That won't be necessary.
How do you account for it?
Tell me something about the force of the blows.
Some were struck with a terrible ferocity as to drive the knife through hard belts of bone and muscle. Yet others seem to be haphazard and at random, glancing off, doing hardly any damage.
Can you estimate the time of death?
It is difficult to say exactly in these matters. The open window, the cold, you understand, complicates an estimate. But I think I can say definitely that death occurred between midnight and 2 in the morning.
Ratchet was already dead when those were delivered?
Some little time dead.
The murderer returned to make certain Ratchet was dead?
The idea is an absurdity, of course. Even one with no medical knowledge would have been able to tell the man was already quite dead.
The murderer had unusually long arms?
Please let us not stray into the land of Poe with his murderous apes stuffing young girls up chimneys. I know something of apes. They kill by pummeling or crushing, not whittling away at their victim.
Ratchet thrashed about as he was dying?
On the contrary, he lay completely composed. The bedsheets are not disarrayed at all.
A left-handed murderer could strike there easily.
But of course, that blow was almost certainly struck with the left hand. Yet some of these blows are just as obviously right-handed.
Someone striking with their eyes shut? In a blind frenzy?
And struck so many times with their eyes closed to make sure they had managed to hit a vital organ or 2?
Perhaps the killer was uncertain at first, then was overcome with a bloodlust.
Or perhaps the killer tired of his exertions, weakening, yet still enjoying himself too much to leave off.
Could there be 2 murderers?
Perhaps. Some blows could have been struck by a strong man or very athletic woman. Others are weak. A frail woman, perhaps.
I am sorry, mademoiselle. As I'm certain you know, regulations require that the doors to other wagonlets be kept locked, so that passengers without through tickets may not change cars. Mademoiselle, please, it is locked, and I am not allowed to open it even for you. Mademoiselle, please, do not disturb the other passengers. Mademoiselle, I have no thoughts on how to repair the broken pipe. Forgive me.
Oh, mademoiselle, of course our investigation is of the utmost importance. But we cannot investigate under these conditions. We are not the polar bears. No, I suggest you find a replacement for the broken pipe. If not aboard the train, then you must search the surrounding countryside. You will also need some tool for the turning of the bolts, and something to protect your hands from the steam. Mademoiselle, of course our investigation is of the utmost importance. But we cannot investigate under these conditions. We are not the polar bears. If you have the difficulties, Poirot will offer to you what help he can. But remember the challenge I make to you. Every time you receive my help, I am closer to winning.
It is yet another catastrophe. What will happen to us? Oh dear, what will happen to us?
Look at here. You work for the train company? Get the heat fixed.
An avalanche, a murder, and now no heat. An unlucky journey for us all.
My dear young lady, I should think you'd have more important things to do than bother me. You might start with getting the heat restored.
I am not as frail as I look, but the cold will cause the pain from my arthritis to be unbearable.
No heat, huh? Got any bright ideas?
How can I talk to you when my teeth, they chatter so?
I beg your pardon, mademoiselle, I'm sure, but I couldn't possibly assist in your inquiries until some level of comfort has been restored.
I'm sorry, I'm much too concerned for my wife's health to speak with you now. We must find a way to get the heat restored.
Surely there is something someone can do to get the heat working again.
Michel says the steam pipe's broken. I wish I was mechanically inclined, but I'm hopeless.
Señorita, unless we find a way to replace that broken pipe, our chances look very bad.
Mademoiselle, the engineer has just informed me. A rock from the avalanche, it struck the undercarriage of the coal tender. The pipe that carries the steam that heats the train is damaged. It must be repaired, or we will all freeze to death.
Could this be coincidence? Either way, I'd better look into it immediately.
Eh bien, mademoiselle, if you cannot find a replacement for the broken pipe aboard the train, you must search the surrounding countryside. You will also need some tool for the turning of the bolts and something to protect your hands from the steam.
You should try to get some rest, mademoiselle. There's nothing more I can tell you. If there's anything else, perhaps it could wait until morning?
Not at all like the handkerchief found in the room of the man who was murdered. The notorious scarlet kimono in your bag, mademoiselle.
Well, of all the nerve.
One must look, one must listen at all times. If you were to listen at the door of any compartment, who knows what you may learn?
That would not be very proper, Monsieur Poirot.
Proper? The student of crime must also be the student of human nature. Oh, what better way to make the study, huh? I will illustrate. Mademoiselle Marceau, you are facing the entire car, whereas Poirot, he sits with his back to most and is only observed upon entering. Start with the table farthest away, the three ladies. Tell me about them.
One is a Swedish missionary from a school near Gemlik on the Bosporus. She is also very uncomfortable in unfamiliar surroundings and gets lost easily.
That is truly wonderful. How did you arrive at this?
I helped her find the train inside the train station.
Well, it is an important lesson, that. When you know the facts, why bother with the clues?
The younger woman is British from her accent. She seems very capable and down to earth. If we'd been at school together, I believe we would have been friends.
Oui. She has a strong character, that one. Perhaps the strongest among us. But she is a mystery nonetheless.
Why do you say that?
You observed her embrace of the most passionate kind with a proper English gentleman this afternoon?
Yes, I did. Very un-English of both of them.
As you say. And yet now she sits at another table, indifferent to him and his glances.
Lovers quarrel?
What can have happened in so short a time for the lovebirds to fly from the light into the darkness?
The older woman with the loud voice is American. Even with the length of the car between us, one can tell that.
Oui, it is true what you say. And yet she seems to be a woman quite amiable and without malice. A good beginning. And what is there to say about the tanned British gentleman?
He has spent much time in the tropics.
Oui, some far-flung corner of the British Empire. India, perhaps.
He's not as proper as he looks.
Or he is so in love, it breaks down all the inhibitions.
They are married, but not to one another.
What did she say to him? Huh? Not now. Not now. When it is behind us, then.
They are waiting for the divorce to be final.
Perhaps.
Military, I would say, from the way he carries himself.
Very good. Tanned, military. Or posting in Egypt, perhaps. Or India. And now the grand lady who sits alone.
I'd say royalty, a princess. Russian, probably.
Oh, no. You will not play the same trick on Poirot twice. Alors, she too you have met?
I did a small service for her earlier today.
She has the very grim exterior, that one, but there is something about her, huh? A twinkle in the eye, perhaps? No. I think she is not quite so much the dragon as she appears. Alors, and across from her sits
Hildegard Schmidt. Yes, I met her too. Quite unpleasant for a lady's maid. They're usually such mild creatures.
Vraiment. She also has sent her plate back to the chef twice for adjustments. Very particular about her cuisine. It would be nice if the menu was more varied. We march. This large table nearest the kitchen now, with the 3 gentlemen. What can you see?
The Italian sells motor cars. He's very enthusiastic about cars in general.
Oui. A salesman to his very soul, I would say.
The American appears to be a commercial traveller of some sort.
Oui. He carried the sample case when he boarded the train. Yet, I wonder. The case, it was quite small. Yet he seems very fit, does he not? The suit of such questionable taste, he can barely contain the muscles.
Can't a commercial traveller be athletic?
C'est possible.
The Englishman is very quiet.
He certainly does not share the enthusiasm for conversation of his companions. A superior sort, with a disapproving expression. That suggests nothing to you?
I'm afraid not.
A gentleman's gentleman, as the British would say.
A valet. Yes, I can see him pressing trousers and shining shoes. A valet. Yes, I can see him pressing trousers and shining shoes.
And now, as discreetly as possible, observe the young couple directly behind me.
Her dress is exquisite, very expensive. And the jewels. Ah, she's lovely. The kind of woman a man would marry and lavish gifts upon.
It is very romantic, is it not? And yet I detect the melancholy in your voice, mademoiselle.
I'm sorry. I expect it's jealousy. I grew up in Jucas, a small town near Avignon. My parents wanted me to stay in Jucas and marry well, but I rebelled.
Ah.
Have you never rebelled, Monsieur Poirot?
These days, not so much, I fear. Rebellion, it is for the young.
I went to England too, to university, then out here to Istanbul. I wanted to get as far away from Jucas as I could. I wanted mystery, adventure, romance. I became a clerk. No mystery, no adventure, and certainly no time for romance.
Poirot is not so much the expert on romance. Yet mystery and adventure may be closer than you think.
The man is very handsome, aristocratic. He dresses as an Englishman, but his accent is Hungarian, I think.
Oui, a diplomat, I believe, fiercely in love.
Fiercely?
The man who makes the unwanted advances to his young wife would suffer for it. And now, to the last table, where the older gentleman has been glancing this way throughout dinner.
The older man's name is Ratchet, an American. Very coarse and brutish, despite the fine clothes and table manners. He forced his attentions on me in the bazaar today. I think he's been trying to renew the attempt all through dinner. He keeps looking this way.
Most would see the smiling round face with the pink cheeks and the brilliantly white teeth that are false and say, there sits a benevolent personality indeed.
There is no smile in his eyes.
No, there is a dark fever in them. Not a benevolent man, not a nice man at all. And forgive me, mademoiselle, but I do not think that he has been watching you. Poirot is the unfortunate victim of his interest this evening.
The younger American man is named Hector something. I like him. He seems very open and pleasant. He's Mr. Ratchet's secretary, I believe, but I don't think he's very happy in the position.
Perhaps an acquaintance worth cultivating for an attractive young lady travelling alone?
Monsieur Poirot, I would never be so forward.
Oh, but it is 1934, mademoiselle. Young ladies are forward. Even those from Jucas.
Was that a cry?
Yes, I think it was.
First, the snow is trapping us. Then, the old Belgian man injures himself. Now what?
And a call bell.
Yeah, I heard that too. Someone may be ill. I should aid their sickness.
Go back to sleep, Greta. I'm sure it's nothing. No need to be alarmed. Let me have a look first.
One must look. One must listen at all times. If you were to listen at the door of any compartment, who knows what you may learn?
I'm still not sure I agree in principle, but perhaps I'd best give it a go.
Hello, miss. There is more snow coming, I think.
Greta, you know Monsieur Poirot has asked me to help him investigate the murder.
Yeah, I have heard this. It is satisfactory with you?
Very. Will you help me?
I will try.
May I have your passport, please?
It is here.
Greta Sigrid Ohlson, 49, of Stockholm.
Of course, I am a missionary now, nurse at the school in Gemlik, and not much in Sweden.
You gave Mrs. Hubbard a headache powder last night?
Yeah, poor lady with the pain in the head.
That was around 10:40, I believe.
I am not sure.
Did you leave this compartment again after helping Monsieur Poirot?
His ankle is not so very injured, you know. I looked at it again this morning. I think he is not as brave as some of my little children.
After Monsieur Poirot?
I woke several times, of course, but it is because you were peeking out and leaving the compartment, not I.
After that?
When you finally settled down. No, I was very tired from all the activity. I slept. If I had gone out, would you not have noticed?
I'm not sure. You were here in the lower berth.
I slept until the morning. I slept soundly enough that you might have gone out again. I do not know about that, but I myself was sleeping.
Your dressing gown is brown, is it not?
Yeah, you have seen it for yourself. Very comfortable, of Jäger wool.
Did you see anyone in the corridor when you took Mrs. Hubbard the medicine?
Not in the corridor, no.
Somewhere else?
I opened the door to the dead man's compartment by mistake. Mr. Ratchet, I was much ashamed.
What did you and Mrs. Hubbard talk about?
The pain in her head. It started at the back and sweep itself forward over her eyes and...
Anything else?
She asked me if the door between her compartment and Mr. Ratchet's is locked. I check it for her.
And?
It is locked.
Did you actually see him?
Yeah, in his bed he was, reading a book.
Did he say anything to you?
He laughed. He invited me. I do not care to repeat what he said. It inflamed my cheeks. I left at once, naturally, and went into Mrs. Hubbard.
That means you were the last person to see Monsieur Ratchet alive.
I am suspected. Of all the people aboard the train, I am suspected.
Have you ever been in America?
No. Almost I go once. I was to accompany an invalid lady, but it was cancelled. I much regret it. They are very generous, the Americans. They give much money to schools and hospitals, and they are very practical.
Do you remember hearing of the Armstrong kidnapping case?
No. What was that?
A little girl was kidnapped and murdered. Her mother and an unborn child died in childbirth. A member of the staff committed suicide. Monsieur Ratchet was the man behind the kidnapping.
That there are in the world such evil men. It tries one's faith. The poor mother, my heart aches for her. Ah, dear young miss, I would like to say that, despite all the calamity, I have enjoyed sharing my compartment.
Thank you, Greta, but I'm afraid I must ask you some more questions.
Yeah, I am thinking you must. Our gracious Father, who art in heaven, guides your hand, I think. So I am content.
I found a postcard in your suitcase.
My one keepsake from that time. It is a silly thing, but I hold it dear.
Coney Island is in America.
Yeah, of course. It is on the Long Island of New York, in the country of America. I lied to you when I said I had never been there. May God forgive me.
On the back of the postcard, you write that Helena rode on the roller coaster.
Helena Gilbert, Mrs. Armstrong's young sister, only 10 years of age, but so brave. I am not so brave.
You were Daisy Armstrong's nurse, were you not?
It is true.
It is true. She was an angel, a sweet, trusting angel. She knew nothing but kindness and love, and she was took away by that wicked, wicked man. And her poor mother, and the other little one who never lived at all. I was to be that little child's nurse, too. I ought to have told you, but I was afraid. I did so rejoice that that evil man was dead, that he could not any more kill the little children. I can tell you like to be the detective. I fear for modern young women. They act so strange. I hope I am not under suspicion. I am a nurse. I help the little children. If only I knew something else to help you, then you would not question me so. That wicked, wicked man. And ye shall suffer the little children to come unto me. That such things happen to the little children, it break my heart.
Come in, please.
Come on in.
Entrez.
Herr Engelkommen.
Yes?
Come in. Mary.
Not now. Not now. When it's all over, when it's behind us, then...
Well, what are you waiting for? Don't let us stand in your way.
I am having trouble finding all I need to read the paper.
Mademoiselle, you are having the difficulties obtaining something with which to handle the burned paper? Also the 2 objects of metal netting and a source of constant heat? Poirot can offer to you suggestions. But we have just made the challenge, you and I, and if I help you, it is a point for me. Do you still wish my help?
Yes, I'm afraid I'm stuck.
Very well, let me see. The curling tongs for my moustache will work well to manipulate the burnt paper. Now then, we will also need an old-fashioned woman's hat box and a source of constant heat. Something in the restaurant car, perhaps?
No, I will try it again, on my own.
Excellent. I applaud your tenacity.
Let me pass.
Her Excellency has lost her parasol. We are searching for it, to protect her from the sun, you see.
Calm yourself, Schmidt. I'm not as fragile as all that.
I do not know who she is, nor do I care.
Then you are an ignorant girl indeed. Go about your business.
I beg your pardon, but I am in a great hurry.
Then you are an ignorant girl indeed. Go about your business.
Don't speak to me like that. I represent the Express Company.
You represent them badly, Fräulein, with that tone. For better, you should be attempting to aid one of your passengers. Her Excellency has lost her parasol. We are searching for it to protect her from the sun, you see.
I expect she can buy another somewhere nearby.
A parasol fit for a princess? Here, I think not.
I'm truly sorry, Princess, but I'm in a great hurry.
Your generation often is. I do not linger here for my health. I've lost my parasol. I can't think where I left it.
Please, I must catch that man.
There will always be more men, my dear. You are pretty enough. You have no need to chase them. They will come to you. I must not miss my train, but I have misplaced my parasol. Have you seen it?
I appeal to you, Princess. Please, let me pass.
Have you by chance seen my parasol? I've lost it. I can't think where I left it.
I haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
If you could help us look for it. I am not as mobile as I was at your age, and Schmidt would rather fast than make an adequate search. I would be very grateful. You disappoint me, my dear. You seemed more efficient at first glance. In too much of a hurry to help a fellow traveler in need. If I could remember where I left the parasol, I would not require your assistance, would I?
Could this be the parasol?
But yes, Dankeschön, Fräulein. If your Excellency pleases, we should board the train.
I still must buy a bracelet for my arthritis, Schmidt. There is ample time yet for the train. Let this helpful young woman pass.
Bloody awful weather.
The train better get moving soon. The passes west of here fill with snow pretty fast. Back in '29, there was a train trapped up there for a week.
Ah, Colonel Arbuthnot, isn't it? And Mr. MacQueen.
That's right. Say, you're the company representative, aren't you? I heard there was one on the train.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Antoinette Marceau.
Say, you're the company representative, aren't you? I heard there was one on the train.
Is there anyone in the station?
Only people we've seen were an attendant and a passenger, I think. They boarded that coach they're adding to the train. Then somebody turned out the station lights. It's the Athens-Paris coach, I think. Mr. Ratchet and I travel this route quite a bit.
Yes, well, I've all the fresh air I need, if you'll excuse me.
I'll be getting along then, too. Don't want to hold us up.
I don't suppose either one of you has seen a side of bacon lying about.
Can't say that I have.
Yes, well, I've all the fresh air I need, if you'll excuse me.
I'll be getting along then, too. Don't want to hold us up.
Gentlemen, the train will be leaving soon.
Yes, well, I've all the fresh air I need, if you'll excuse me.
I'll be getting along then, too. Don't want to hold us up.
I'd best hurry to the train before I get stranded.
Entrez, mademoiselle, you already have his teeth. What more would you take from the man? The glue, it is still moist. It appears the label is a most recent addition.
Monsieur Poirot, I place myself entirely at your service.
You know Poirot?
Who would not recognize the most famous detective in the world?
You are very kind, mademoiselle.
I have a passion for crime.
You enjoy the study of it, I hope, not the committing.
Oh, the study, the gathering of clues, the questioning of suspects.
Merely what the Americans call the footwork.
Legwork, I believe, monsieur.
As you say. I prefer the detection that occurs here. The little gray cells.
My scrapbook contains many accounts of your cases. That mysterious affair at Styles, the death of Roger Ackroyd, the noted businessman, Lord Edgware's murder. But, oh, forgive me, I'm rambling. I have a fascination for crime, Monsieur Poirot.
You enjoy the study of it, I hope, not the committing.
Oh, the study, the gathering of clues, the questioning of suspects.
Merely what the Americans call the footwork.
Legwork, I believe, monsieur.
As you say. I prefer the detection that occurs here. The little gray cells.
My scrapbook contains many accounts of your cases. That mysterious affair at Styles, the death of Roger Ackroyd, the noted businessman, Lord Edgware's murder. But forgive me, I'm rambling. I work for your friend, Monsieur Bosque.
Ah, of course. And he without doubt has given to you the description most precise.
I would have known you anyway. I have a passion for crime.
You enjoy the study of it, I hope, but not the committing.
Oh, the study, the gathering of clues, the questioning of suspects.
Merely what the Americans call the footwork.
Legwork, I believe, monsieur.
As you say. I prefer the detection that occurs here. The little gray cells.
My scrapbook contains many accounts of your cases. That mysterious affair at Styles, the death of Roger Ackroyd, the noted businessman, Lord Edgware's murder. But forgive me, I'm rambling.
But I must travel this evening to London. It is of the most importance. My friend, Monsieur Bou, director of the line, assured me of a room aboard the Calais coach.
I am sorry, monsieur. It is incredible. It is off-season, yet the world elects to travel tonight. Not a single room remains.
Pardon me, messieurs. I'm Antoinette Marceau from the Istanbul office.
Are you quite well, Mademoiselle Marceau? You are flushed and winded.
I'm fine, really. It was something of a chore to catch up to the train.
But the train, it does not move.
Mademoiselle, please tell the gentleman the Calais coach is full.
I should try and figure out who that person in the kimono was before I go back to sleep.
Yes, Fräulein.
Frau Schmidt, I am helping Monsieur Poirot in the investigation of Monsieur Ratchet's death. Will you assist me?
If I can.
May I have your passport?
Ja, here it is.
You are Hildegard Schmidt, aged 43, living in St. Petersburg?
Where I attend Madame la Princesse, ja.
What can you tell me of your movements last night after dinner?
I moved very little. I read to the Princess Bleak House by the English writer Charles Dickens. The sudden stopping of the train interrupted us. Madame la Princesse luckily was not harmed. I returned to reading. I do not read aloud very well, but Her Excellency says that it is all the better. So it sends her better to sleep. When she became sleepy, she told me to go. I returned to the compartment I share with Fräulein Debenham.
What time was that?
It was very late. 1:30 or more.
Tell me about Mary Debenham.
She is a very agreeable young lady. She was already asleep when I came in after reading to Her Excellency.
What color is Mademoiselle Debenham's dressing gown?
It is a pale purple, Mauve, I believe the English say.
Did Mademoiselle Debenham leave the room at all last night?
Not after I returned. I sleep lightly, Fräulein. You understand? Should Her Excellency require me.
Have you ever been to America?
No, never. I should like to go someday.
Do you know who this man Ratchet really was?
He was not Ratchet?
His name was Cassetti. He was responsible for the death of a small child named Daisy Armstrong.
My God! I have heard of that. The kidnapping. It was wicked. Wicked! We are not so wicked as that in Germany.
Is this your handkerchief, Frau Schmidt?
No, it is not mine.
It has the letter H, you see.
Ah, but it is a lady's handkerchief, that. A very expensive cambric handkerchief. Embroidered by hand. It comes from Paris, I should say.
Did you see anyone as you returned to your compartment?
Only an attendant.
He was sitting at the end of the corridor?
No, Fräulein. He came out of one of the compartments in the middle. 2 or 3 doors from Madame la Princesse.
Was it Mrs. Hubbard's compartment?
It may have been.
But I saw him come out. You weren't in the corridor.
I most certainly was. He nearly ran into me, apologized, and hurried off in the direction of the salon car. A bell began ringing, but I do not think he answered it.
Then the bell started ringing?
Yes, Fräulein.
The attendant was Michel.
Our regular attendant. No, Fräulein.
What? What did he look like?
Small, dark. He had a little mustache. His voice, when he said, "Pardon," was weak and high-pitched. Higher than mine. I'd never seen him before.
I have a few more questions, Frau Schmidt, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
How long have you been with Madame la Princesse?
10 years.
15 years, Schmidt.
Yeah, that is right. 15, mademoiselle. I am sorry. This murder, this waiting, it distracts me.
I understand you are an excellent cook.
Yeah, indeed. All of my ladies have said so. Your Excellency.
Calm yourself, Schmidt. You don't know what you are saying.
That is true. I do not know what I am saying. I am not so sure I find it very suitable for young ladies to investigate crime. I can tell you are perplexed, Fräulein, but I have told you all I know. Fräulein, if I recall anything else, I will tell you. Mademoiselle, forgive me. I am much too upset to answer any more questions. I do not know where my mind is these days. When will that plough free us? I must get off this mountain.
First, I will speak to you of time. When did Monsieur Ratchet meet his end? I suspect Mademoiselle Marceau has the theory.
10:40 p.m. Mademoiselle Ohlson was the last person to see Ratchet alive because she killed him shortly before 12:37 a.m. It could not have been Ratchet who called out to Michel in French. He didn't speak French. 1:15 a.m. The watch was broken during the attack, and Madame Hubbard heard the killer in her compartment only moments later, earlier than 10:40 p.m. The murderer is not the assassin in the attendant's uniform, but the woman in the scarlet kimono, later than 1:15 a.m. The murderer is not the assassin in the attendant's uniform, but the woman in the scarlet kimono.
Mademoiselle Ohlson spoke to Ratchet from the doorway at 10:40 p.m. She never went inside. It conjures the image most bizarre of her throwing a knife at him 12 times from the doorway. And how does she retrieve it? Is there string attached to the handle? No, that is a solution of a most lurid sort. Let us examine the other possibilities. Let us examine each possibility in turn. 10:40 p.m. or earlier? No, I think not. Mademoiselle Ohlson spoke to Ratchet from the doorway at 10:40 p.m., but she never went inside. It conjures the image most bizarre of her throwing a knife at him 12 times from the doorway. And how does she retrieve it? Is there string attached to the handle? No, that is a solution of a most lurid sort. 12:37 a.m.? A more interesting possibility. Monsieur MacQueen states that Ratchet spoke no languages other than English, and yet the voice answered Michel in French. Still, I think this was simply a performance for the benefit of Poirot. One of the little improvisations. I was meant to see through it and say, No. Monsieur Ratchet, he was already dead by 12:37. He could not have cried out.
The broken watch said 1:15.
Oui, it did. And it fits with the time of Madame Hubbard's visitor. Now I digress for the reminiscence. I observed to Mademoiselle Marceau that one meets many classes and nationalities when traveling aboard the Express. I asked her to imagine whether such an assembly would ever likely to be collected under any other conditions. And Mademoiselle, what was your reply?
On an ocean voyage in America.
Mademoiselle, I have a book of memory exercises I will send to you when I reach London. Mademoiselle, I have a book of memory exercises I will send to you when I reach London. It seems plausible. And yet, even aboard a ship at sea, one can avoid one's fellow passengers the entire voyage, if that is the wish. C'est ça. Only in America will you find a household composed of so many nationalities. Look about you. As our investigation progressed, it became clear that 9 passengers on this train are connected in some way to the Armstrong kidnapping. Who have we connected to that case, mademoiselle?
Count Andrenyi, Countess Andrenyi, Colonel Arbuthnot, Mary Debenham, Princess Dragomiroff, Antonio Foscarelli, Cyrus Hardman, Caroline Hubbard, Hector MacQueen, Edward Masterman, Pierre Michel, Greta Ohlson, Hildegard Schmidt, none of the above.
Précisément. These 4 alone, amongst the occupants of the Calais coach, would appear to have no direct connection with the Armstrong case. Yet I was struck by the curious coincidence that everyone in the Calais coach had an alibi. And these alibis are sometimes corroborated even by those not connected to the Armstrong affair. One of you stated to Mademoiselle Marceau that while Monsieur Ratchet got what he deserved, you would have preferred to see him properly hanged. The trial by jury is a sound system. Who said that, mademoiselle?
Princess Dragomiroff, Edward Masterman, Mary Debenham, Colonel Arbuthnot, Count Andrenyi.
Just so. Colonel Arbuthnot. Now that struck a chord with Poirot. I sat back and thought, a jury is composed of 12 people. There are 12 passengers in the Calais coach, discounting myself and Mademoiselle Marceau. Ratchet, he was stabbed 12 times. And the reason the Calais coach was filled in the middle of the winter was explained. All, I repeat, all of the passengers were in on it. They had to be. No alibi could be left to the whim of a stranger. Did this solution explain everything? Let us see. What were the clues that pointed to the first solution, mademoiselle?
The threatening letters, Cyrus Hardman's story of a small dark man, the door left unbolted by Hector MacQueen, the uniform with a button missing, the stiletto. All of these clues agree with the first solution.
Oui, and now of course my attention focused on Monsieur Hardman, for he, the apparent outsider, had provided a key element in this artificial solution of an unknown enemy. How to explain his complicity? And then I remembered that Mademoiselle Marceau had told to me 2 suggestive moments during 2 different interviews with Monsieur Hardman.
When he asked me to find a Kataya tile, when he said the snow was bright, when he apologized to me, when he gave me the key to the security room in the baggage car.
Mais oui, the snow has not been very bright today. The sky, it is overcast. And in his apology he mentions his fondness for French girls. Countess Andrenyi told us that the nursemaid, she was French. Her name was Suzanne. Our young friend Barnaby Lewis confirms via the ham radio that her full name was Suzanne Ferrier, and that she was born near Paris. So, it is not so much a leap, I think, to wonder if perhaps the man from New York and the French girl working there might not have formed the attachment.
I've been a detective for almost 20 years, Monsieur Poirot, but I'm in admiration of you. Yeah, Suzanne and I were going to ask her uncle if we could get hitched. He was her guardian. Then the kidnapping and everything. It was too much for her.
Her uncle, monsieur? And his name?
Oh, jeez, I can't say I remember.
A detective for almost 20 years? And you never even knew the name of your fiancé's guardian?
No, probably got it written down somewhere back in New York.
Enough of this foolishness. I can guess his name right now, and so I expect can Mademoiselle Marceau.
Monsieur Ferrier, Pierre Michel, Lucien, Marcel Bousse, Antonio Foscarelli.
The picture in your valise, it is that of you, your sister, and her daughter Suzanne?
Oui, monsieur. After my sister and her husband died in a car crash, I raised Suzanne as my own child.
And so, that leaves only one.
Me? If your tenant is one of your killers, Mr. Poirot, that makes you 12. You don't need me.
No, madame. I have come to the odd conclusion that the person who has taken no part in the crime is the one who would be considered most likely to do so. I refer to Countess Andranier. Her husband swore on his honor she did not leave her room last night. A count from a noble family? A rising young star in the Hungarian diplomatic service? Such a man does not swear upon his honor lightly. No, it is much more probable that he tells the truth. And it is the devoted husband who, so to speak, takes his wife's place. So you see, madame, we are back to 11 without you.
Well, I never. Wait until my daughter hears about this.
Why not tell her now? She is sitting there right beside you, Madame Arden. You are the instigator, or the director, I should say, of this entire performance. You, who Mademoiselle Debenham so rightly called the strongest character among us. And there you have it. Does this second solution explain everything? Let us see. Mademoiselle Marceau, what was the real murder weapon? But of course. A drama planned this carefully does not include the blood-stained stiletto with the fingerprints of some unknown. No, that is merely a prop. As were the 2 threatening letters. The burned note, of course, was a real threat. The conspirators most assuredly did not want this murder tied to the Armstrong kidnapping, and the true weapon, with no incriminating mark upon it, might never have been found, if it had been thrown inches further.
Bloody steak knives aren't balanced properly for throwing. My hat's off to you, though, Miss Marceau. When I saw where it landed, I wasn't about to crawl out there and end up at the bottom of that ravine. Took some nerve doing what you did, and there's no denying it.
Hear, hear.
So, the improbable differences in the stab wounds is now explained. 2 so-called clues were dropped in the dead man's compartment. Mademoiselle, the pipe cleaner, incriminating Colonel Arbuthnot, who had one of the strongest alibis and whose connection to the Armstrong family was probably the hardest to prove. And the second clue found in the room, mademoiselle? The handkerchief, incriminating Princess Dragomiroff, who, by virtue of her frail physique and the alibi given by her maid and Michel, was practically in an unassailable position. Then there was the clue found at the shepherd's hut with the incriminating fingerprints. Do you have it, mademoiselle? With Matteo's incriminating fingerprints on it.
Not precisely cricket, you know, Tonio, to incriminate an innocent man.
Cyrus could swear Matteo had not entered the Calais coach. Michel informed us the radio was in the baggage car, and I went to put it out of commission. I did not want to destroy the equipment. It must have taken him much saving to purchase. So I only smashed the telegraph key. Signorina, you are a miracle worker for sure. To get the radio working again. I know about these things. That was a stroke of a genius.
Stick to the point, Monsieur Foscarelli.
With great pleasure. The padlock was just hanging there. I found the snowshoes earlier, and then the shepherd's hut. I was supposed to find a good place for the uniform and the stiletto, and the hut was perfect, but I had to break the lock to enter. All I did was go and get the padlock on the radio crate. I didn't mean to point the finger at Matteo.
The other red herring was not a herring at all, but it was certainly red. Mademoiselle?
And then to put it in my valise was not a nice trick.
The kimono is mine, monsieur. And mademoiselle, I had no intention of trying to incriminate you. I had to put it someplace, and I thought it would be amusing if you found it there.
Ah oui, you enjoy your little games, Countess. Mademoiselle Freebody, indeed. Well, Madame Arden?
Monsieur Poirot must share a room with Monsieur MacQueen.
But Monsieur MacQueen's employer paid extra for his secretary's privacy.
No. I would not dream to impose.
We will make Monsieur Poirot as comfortable as possible in the salon car.
I am sure that Poirot, he will be most comfortable.
But Mademoiselle Marceau, would Monsieur Bouc approve?
No, probably not. I'm sure Miss Ohlson won't mind Monsieur Poirot for one night.
She is a missionary.
No, this would not be a suitable arrangement for Poirot.
Gentlemen, please, only a joke. Give Monsieur Poirot my room. I will be quite comfortable in the salon car.
Mademoiselle, Poirot, he will not hear of such a thing.
I insist. I will not compromise the hospitality of the train.
Oh, if I must turn you out, why then you will stay in the room of Miss Ohlson. I am sure she will not mind when she learns of your sacrifice.
No, really, it isn't necessary.
No. Poirot has spoken. The matter, it is settled.
I will speak to the lady at once.
Hector, Make sure the statue is safely on board before departure.
Yes, Mr. Ratchet.
Who do they sell this pottery to?
Tourists, I expect.
Huh. Well, at least the dust looks authentic.
Excuse us, please.
Well, hello.
Please do not be stopping us. The train will be leaving without me.
French, right? Are you traveling with us this evening?
Yes, will you pardon us?
What's the rush? We have plenty of time. Fellow passengers and all. Plenty of time to get acquainted.
I don't see what business that is of yours.
No need to go all stuck up with me, lady. Fellow passengers and all. Just trying to get acquainted.
Step aside, please.
What's the rush? We have plenty of time. Fellow passengers and all. Plenty of time to get acquainted.
I'd like that, but there'll be more time on the train.
What are you saying, miss? Do not talk so to this strange older man.
I'll look forward to that.
I really must insist you letting us past.
Insist some more. I like it when your eyes get all stormy like that.
Mr. Ratchet.
Did you hear a squeak?
I am an official of the train line with official business to see to.
Sounds very official. I like it when your eyes get all stormy like that.
Mr. Ratchet.
Did you hear a squeak?
If you don't let us pass immediately, I will see that you never travel on this line again.
Not that I think you could make that stick, but I'm willing to continue our chat later.
Must I summon the police?
No, there's no need to do that. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other again.
There is something in the pocket.
It would seem all the baggage has been loaded on our train. Serbian, I suppose. It would have to be Serbian. If only I spoke Serbian. Antoinette, you're in Belgrade. You can't read these tags. It is frustrating not to know what it says.
That is, I believe, toilet paper, mademoiselle. That appears to be a box of golf balls. From the looks of it, that crate contains more carrot juice than Prague will ever need. Slanina. We have found Klaus's bacon, Mademoiselle Marceau.
Will you take it to him so we can get underway?
At once. Mademoiselle Marceau, would you do me a favor of rounding up the stragglers while I deliver Klaus's package? Certainement.
This is our company representative from Istanbul? A woman?
Mademoiselle Marceau, this is Tayyip, our engineer.
What is the report from the station master?
It is not good, I'm afraid. Heavy snow is forecast for the mountains. The passes between Vancouver and Brod will fill up quickly.
Klaus is missing a side of bacon.
He told me. I showed him the manifest. It was not on the Athens-Paris cart.
Is the baggage loaded?
Oui, mademoiselle. There was not much.
How many passengers joined us here in Belgrade?
Only one. A Greek doctor, I believe.
I think I saw the Athens-Paris coach attendant board the restaurant car just now.
Really? He should be back in the Athens-Paris coach.
Can you read Serbian?
A little. The manifests from Belgrade are in Serbian.
Could you read some tags on the Prague luggage truck for me?
Yes, of course.
Are you ready to go?
I have been ready. I am not the slow one here. It is the Serbs.
Can we reach Brod in this weather?
If any engine can get us through, it will be this 460.
I suppose I'll have to take responsibility if we go on.
Company representative? And a woman? No, this is my train, my decision. We go.
Do you speak Serbian?
I am a Turk. Why would I speak Serbian? Company representative or not? Get aboard my train, or I will leave without you. I have no time to chat with you. We must be leaving. If you delay my train any longer, I will report you to Book himself.
We should report the train. The train cannot leave without us. Mademoiselle, forgive me, but we mustn't remain here in Belgrade any longer.
I know some of you suspected something was not quite right. But let us now look at the clues that fit neither solution so far. Madame Schmidt says she saw the phantom attendant, but we know now it was sheer invention. Yet we have the testimony of an independent witness who says he saw the non-existent small dark attendant actually getting on the train. Mademoiselle?
The engineer, the fireman, Matteo, the Athens-Paris coach attendant, Lucien, the waiter, Klaus, the chef de cuisine.
Oui, the engineer while the train was in the Belgrade station. And then there is the crate of Monsieur Ratchet and its unknown occupant. What clues associate themselves with that crate, mademoiselle?
the second attendant's uniform, the pile of books, the security door key, the broken snowshoes, the broken telegraph key.
Oui, the uniform I think worn by the person the engineer saw. The pile of books mademoiselle believes were useful in the planning of the crime, yet no one has mentioned them. And the fact that the person with access to that key would be in the best position to tell us something of the occupant of that crate. And lastly, there is the little matter of the kidnapping of Mademoiselle Marceau.
Ticket, please. No one may board the train without a ticket.
I must be making an inventory of my possessions. Everything. It gets lost.
I did not close the window despite the chill. I thought there might be fingerprints, and the cold, of course, helps preserve the body. Take care. There may be fingerprints.
I already have what I need from there. I already took what I needed. I don't need any more. I've already searched it thoroughly. I won't find anything else in there. Nothing else to see in there. I don't need anything else from my suitcase at the moment. Au revoir, monsieur. Thank you, Colonel. That will do for now, Colonel. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
I'm not in the mood to talk at the moment. Why don't you go bother someone else? I'm thinking. Please, leave me alone for the moment.
I will take your fingerprints now.
Will you, by Jove? Well, get on with it then.
The paper is extremely fragile. I've already pressed my luck collecting it. I need something to handle it with. No, that isn't right. I must put the paper between them first. My heat source is now in place. Now on to completing the paper holder. The paper holder is now in place. Now on to securing a heat source. I'd better see this through to completion. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of Monsieur Poirot. That match has already been used. The cigar stub has long been extinguished. Various bottles of hard liquor. I have no need of them, although perhaps Monsieur Poirot would do well to partake. Those cabinets are locked.
Mademoiselle, the battery, it will not last forever. Turn off the radio to conserve the power.
I can barely see. And I'm getting colder by the second. I can't see my hand in front of my face. How can I find my way anywhere in this storm? Very appetizing in other circumstances, but I'm not hungry at the moment. I just don't have the appetite right now. What they say about the chef is true. This buffet is a carnival's dream. I bent the blade of the butter knife back on itself. Those don't work together. I can't get them to fit. Something is wrong here. This doesn't seem to work. Some things, once done, cannot be undone. I can't take that apart. It appears it is staying that way. I can't hear through this wood. I'll need something to help me. Nothing of interest here. Nothing to find here. A good idea, but I've come up empty.
It is far out of your reach, mademoiselle. You cannot possibly reach it that way. No, it is beyond your grasp, Mademoiselle Marceau.
I can't do that now. I'd surely be seen. Now is not the time. There are eyes watching. I wouldn't like to try that while company is about. I should probably wait until I am alone to do that, if at all possible. I have nothing more to say to her. I don't think she's in the mood for conversation. The time for talk has passed. I have nothing more to say to him. The time for talk has passed. I have more important things to do than chat. I don't think he's in the mood for conversation.
I am sorry, mademoiselle, but I do not believe using that object will help. Mille pardon, mademoiselle, but that choice will not gain you a favorable result. I confess that your logic, it escapes me. Your current course of action, it is a mystery to Poirot. You presume that this would be the choice of Poirot? I think not. Does nothing strike you as odd about what you are doing? Oh, mademoiselle, use the little gray cells that Poirot knows that you possess, huh? Find another solution. The good detective knows even the most useful tools have the proper time and place.
That isn't such a good idea. I don't think that's appropriate. That isn't going to help. This is neither the time nor the place. I won't do that. That doesn't make sense. I smashed the lump of coal into a fine powder. It's incredibly cold out there. I'll need something warmer than a dress. I can't possibly go outside dressed like this. I'll catch my death. It's far too cold to go outside without warmer clothes. It is bitingly cold out here. I should get back to the train as soon as possible. My eyes are stinging. I should get back to the train immediately. My teeth are chattering. I need to get back to the train as soon as I can. It's freezing out here. I've never felt such a penetrating cold. I'll catch my death out here before long. The bitter cold pervading the train at the moment cannot be blamed on a single open window. It is even colder in here than the rest of the train. Et voila! I should have thought of that sooner. Seems so obvious in retrospect. Excellent. Like hand in glove. That will do for now, Doctor. That will do for now, Doctor. That will do for now, Doctor. Good day, Monsieur. Good evening, Monsieur. I have nothing more to say to him. The time for talk has passed. I don't think he's in the mood for conversation. I would like to take your fingerprints.
What is that you say? I protest. I have nothing to do with this crime.
Everyone must be fingerprinted.
Refuse? No, of course not. Let's get it over with.
The copper bracelet is now straight with a hooked end. I cut the wire into 2 equal lengths. Au revoir, Monsieur le Comte. Merci, Monsieur le Comte. That will do for now, Count Endraigny. Good day, Monsieur le Comte. Good evening, Monsieur le Comte. I have nothing more to say to him. The time for talk has passed. I don't think he's in the mood for conversation. I'd like to take your fingerprints.
Whatever you need to do, I will be happy to cooperate.
Au revoir, Madame la Comtesse. Thank you, Countess. That will do for now, Countess. Good day to you, Madame la Comtesse. Good evening, Madame la Comtesse.
Please, mademoiselle. I need some time to collect myself. Mademoiselle, I implore you to give me a moment's peace. I will talk to you later. I promise.
May I take your fingerprints?
Yes.
HMK. No need to look under there again. The body was thoroughly searched. No need to disturb it now. Better to let the dead rest in peace. There's nothing I can do for the victim now. Au revoir, Mademoiselle Debenham. Thank you, Mademoiselle Debenham. That will do for now, Mademoiselle. Good day to you, Mademoiselle. Good evening, Mademoiselle.
Ms. Marceau, would you mind terribly if we talked later? I do want to help you in your investigation. Could we speak later? I promise I'll talk to you soon.
I'd like to take your fingerprints.
How very enterprising of you. How do we proceed?
I have some typewriter ribbon.
Splendid. This is all rather exciting.
That came apart rather easily. There, back to their original state. Nothing a little elbow grease can't undo. A dear. I should leave her alone. She's got enough to worry about with all the wolves around. At the moment, I think I'm needed elsewhere. That isn't the best place for me to go at the moment. I should keep my immediate goal in mind. It lies elsewhere. I'd better not keep Monsieur Poirot waiting. I shouldn't. Monsieur Poirot is waiting for me. Surely Monsieur Poirot would not like to be kept waiting. Au revoir, Princess Dragomiroff. Thank you very much, Princess. Thank you for your time, Princess. Good day to you, Your Highness. Good evening, Your Highness.
I will hold myself at your disposal in a while, mademoiselle. This talk of murder has tired me so. Perhaps we can talk later. You may have more of my time later. I promise.
I regret to tell you that I must take your fingerprints.
Dear me. With typewriting ribbon? Have you something I may clean my hands with afterwards?
I'll have to find something to use. I'll take your fingerprints later.
Thank you for your consideration, mademoiselle.
I have some paper napkins.
Thank you, mademoiselle. Those should suit admirably.
I'd like those fingerprints now. I have something to clean your hands with.
Thank you, mademoiselle. Those should suit admirably.
I think I've heard all I can. A magnificent animal. I should leave him be. He has enough to worry about with all the wolves about. Au revoir, monsieur. That will be all, Tayyip. That will be enough, Tayyip. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
Leave me be, please. I cannot speak with you now. Maybe later. I will talk to you later, I promise. Thank you, mademoiselle, for this splendid teeth. I shall eat like a sultan now. Thank you kindly. I cannot wait to try some of the chef's wonderful dishes.
I would like to fingerprint you.
Anything you require. However, if you are planning to smear that typewriting ribbon on my fingers, it is unnecessary. My fingers are black from coal dust already. Please, help yourself, dear young lady. Anything you want. Help yourself. Here! What do you think you're doing?
I would like a piece of coal.
Would you? And what of the other passengers?
As a representative of Monsieur Booth, I will take it.
Fine. Take it. Take all of it. The rest of us can freeze. If I give my special hammer to you, what will I use to ensure the boiler pressure gauge is accurate?
Monsieur, I have desperate need of your hammer.
I need that to maintain an accurate reading of the gauge. Do not touch.
Monsieur, I have desperate need of your hammer.
I would do anything for you, mademoiselle, after the service you have done for me. But I need that hammer to check the boiler pressure. If you can find me an adequate replacement, then it is yours.
I have something I think will be adequate to replace your magnificent hammer.
What a wonderful object. This will do nicely. Please take the hammer with my compliments.
That is all for now. Thank you for talking to me. I have nothing further I want to ask. Perhaps we can talk again later. Good evening. There's a visible fingerprint here. It has a fingerprint on it. A fingerprint.
Mademoiselle, these prints are already clear enough. The sellotape should be all that you require.
I need something to lift the fingerprint. I need something white to attach the sellotape to for proper contrast. These menu cards are perfect for collecting fingerprints. The prints match. These prints don't match. I obtained a clear print and have filed it. Au revoir, monsieur. That will be all. That will be enough. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
Yalnız bırak beni. Lütfen. Seninle konuşamam şimdi. Sonra belki. Seninle sonra konuşacağım. Söz veriyorum.
I would like to fingerprint you.
Eğer mecbursan, don't let the engineer know I'll let you take a piece of coal. He will say we need every piece. You can't take that. The engineer would have my head. You can't take that. The engineer would have my head.
I have already spoken with Tayyip. He assured me it was fine as long as I replaced the hammer with something he can use instead.
Well, I suppose...
Even now, fresh flowers. Fresh flowers in the winter. This bouquet is beautiful. She's quite intent on following me to the platform. As an official train representative, it is in my best interest to oblige her. He's going to help me read the labels on those boxes. A lucky thing for me that he reads Serbian. The cast melted. My body heat turned it back into a shapeless mass of batter. Au revoir, monsieur. Thank you, Monsieur Foscarelli. That will do for now, Monsieur Foscarelli. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
Signorina, may I beg a few moments to myself? Not now, signorina. I am beside myself with worry. I promise you I will talk to you later.
I would like to take your fingerprints.
Of course, of course. Anything to help.
Thank you. What's all this? Goodness, what is this? Oh my. Just what is all this for? That isn't what Monsieur Poirot is looking for. No, that isn't right. Think, Antoinette. You do not want to disappoint Monsieur Poirot yet again. That isn't the correct item. I am holding up Monsieur Poirot's explanation.
But how? We are stranded in a mountain pass. Please, you must help me. My stomach.
Do you need a doctor?
No, I need food. I am wasting away.
Have you been poisoned?
No, I need food. I am wasting away.
I need to ask you some questions about last night.
I am in too much distress to answer questions. I need food. I am wasting away.
I'm sure if you went to the restaurant car, the chef would fix you something. We've only been trapped here a few hours. There's plenty of food. Are you a vegetarian?
You do not understand. Klaus, the chef de cuisine, is a master. His meats, his sauces, but even the tenderest meat must be chewed.
Yes, that is true.
I am a busy man. I work hard. I have little time for frivolities.
Does this have anything to do with why you sound funny?
You must be a detective.
You will remember, please, I work for Monsieur Booth himself in Istanbul.
Forgive my outburst. It's the pain of an empty belly. I am a busy man. I work hard. I have little time for frivolities.
Frivolities?
It is. You will pardon me. I had not brushed my teeth since before the Great War. The dentists in Istanbul are fiends. This one, he does not cure me. No, he yanks my teeth out. But the new teeth he has made do not fit properly. Adjustments are needed. He sends them to Trieste. But the train will pass through Trieste in only 2 days. I can survive for 2 days on soup. Now we may be stranded here for a week or more. Remember 1929? It has happened. It can happen again.
Monsieur needs...
Meat.
And to chew it?
Teeth. Once I have eaten, I will be in your debt forever. Ask anything of me.
Monsieur, today is your lucky day. I have teeth for you, but I want to borrow your hammer.
My hammer? But it is my special hammer. It keeps the pressure gauge on the boiler working. I would do anything for you, mademoiselle, after the service you have done for me. But I need that hammer to check the boiler pressure. If you can find me an adequate replacement, then it is yours. But how? We are stranded in a mountain pass.
Don't you worry. I will find some.
I have little to offer you in return. I know nothing of the murder, but thank you.
Monsieur, I have desperate need of your hammer.
I would do anything for you, mademoiselle, after the service you have done for me. But I need that hammer to check the boiler pressure. If you can find me an adequate replacement, then it is yours.
Monsieur, I have desperate need of your hammer.
I would do anything for you, mademoiselle, after the service you have done for me. But I need that hammer to check the boiler pressure. If you can find me an adequate replacement, then it is yours.
Monsieur, today is your lucky day. I have teeth for you.
I have little to offer you in return. I know nothing of the murder, but thank you so much. I wonder where you can find such fine teeth. You are an angel of mercy, dear young lady. I can eat again. I think I will not bother with those ill-fitting teeth in Trieste. These fit wonderfully.
I still need to ask you some questions about last night.
At your service, dear young lady. But I know nothing. I have no time for conversation. The safety of this train is too important. I remember when we were trapped in the snow in 1929. I hunted wolves for food. Snowbound. And now a murder. What will happen next?
Did you see anyone leave the train last night?
No. But as I have told you, we were busy with the boiler. The pressure must be kept up for the light and heat.
Did you see anyone get on the train?
In Belgrade, there was a single passenger only for the Athens-Paris coach. No one at the other stops that I saw.
Can you describe this passenger?
He was small, dark. A doctor, I think, Michel said.
No one else?
Well, Matteo, of course, the Athens-Paris attendant. Not to speak ill of the crew, but he was very late getting aboard. We left the station only moments later. Help me, please! But it is magic. These are much better than mine. Where did you find this?
You may now dine. That is all you need to know.
Thank you. I can't talk now. I am shoveling coal.
The goat is standing in my way. I'll have to find a way to move him. Let's see if this grain is enough to overcome his natural inertia. Antoinette, think. You can't fire that here. Au revoir, monsieur. Thank you, Monsieur Hardman. That will do for now, Monsieur Hardman. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
Not now, Miss Marceau. I have some serious thinking to do. If you want to talk later, that's okay with me. We can talk later, okay?
I would like to take your fingerprints.
I guess it's okay.
The hat frame must be of wire mesh, a type now out of fashion. No, this one will not suffice. No, this hat frame will not work. It is not of the proper type. This is the wrong kind of hat frame. Think, Mademoiselle Marceau. It must be made of the wire mesh.
I can't hear anything. It's completely quiet in there. Not a sound. I need to fix the heat, or I fear the passengers will refuse to help me. If I value my job, I'd best fix the heat as soon as possible. I don't think I'll be getting anything useful out of anyone until I restore the heat. He's fast asleep. No chance of waking him as long as I'm careful. He's asleep. I shouldn't like to wake him, although by his breathing I'd guess that's a difficult thing to do. He's deeply asleep. I'd even hazard to call it the sleep of the just. Au revoir, madame. Thank you, Madame Hubbard. That will do for now, Madame Hubbard. Good day to you, madame. Good evening, madame.
Come back later, Miss Marceau. We can chat then. I'm not in the mood to talk right now. Later we can talk till the cows come home if you like.
I would like to fingerprint you.
What do you have there? A typewriter ribbon? You're going to smear ink from that on my fingers?
That was my intention.
And how do you plan to clean that mess off afterwards?
I'll have to find something to use.
I'll say you will.
I'll take your fingerprints later. I have something to clean your hands with.
Cocktail napkins? Good gracious, sweetie. What kind of fleabag investigation are you conducting here anyway?
I appreciate your cooperation. I'd like those fingerprints now. I have something to clean your hands with.
Cocktail napkins? Good gracious, sweetie. What kind of fleabag investigation are you running here anyway?
I appreciate your cooperation.
Mademoiselle, take care. The ice tongs are far too clumsy. Try the curling tongs of my moustache. There. I give you the hint and progress one step closer to winning our challenge.
Au revoir, monsieur. Thank you, monsieur. That will do for now, monsieur. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
If you know what's good for you, you won't go into my kitchen. I hope you are not disturbing my kitchen, Fräulein. Maybe I speak with you later. Not now. And stay out of my kitchen. Leave me be. No talk now. I am busy. Maybe I speak with you later. Not now.
I would like to fingerprint you.
Ach, fine. Do as you must.
Klaus's passport. I'll put it with the others. No one is answering. Either the compartment is empty or I cannot be heard. I can't possibly leave while Monsieur Poirot is expounding. I can't leave in the middle of Monsieur Poirot's summation. I have to help Monsieur Poirot with his dramatic revelation. I cannot leave. I'll put this into my scrapbook so I can take a closer look at it later. The door is locked. It's locked fast. This door is tightly locked. The door to the Athens-Paris coach is locked. The door to the Calais coach is locked. The door to the baggage car is locked. This door leading outside has been ordered sealed by Monsieur Poirot so that no one may use it to exit the train. This seems to be a security door. It certainly lives up to its name. It's locked. The door to that room is locked. I need to get back to the train. I could get lost out here. I think I may be lost. It's a labyrinth. How will I find my way out? Au revoir, monsieur. That will be all. That will be enough. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
I beg your pardon, mademoiselle, but could we talk at another time? Excuse me, please, mademoiselle. I will be happy to talk to you in a little while. I must attend to my duties, mademoiselle. Perhaps we can speak later.
I would like to take your fingerprints.
I see. Very well, then. I have no objections, and I have some napkins here I can use to clean my hands afterwards.
Oh, do you mind if I take a few of those extra napkins?
Very well, then.
Au revoir, monsieur. Merci, Monsieur MacQueen. Thank you most kindly, Monsieur MacQueen. Good day to you, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
Please forgive me, Miss Marceau, but might we speak later? Miss Marceau, as much as I enjoy your company, can we continue this discussion later? I'd love to talk to you some more, Antoinette. I mean, Miss Marceau, but might we do it at a later time?
I would like to take your fingerprints.
Would you really? Say, that's swell. I mean, of course you can.
It's the cargo manifest. It shows that 3 casks were loaded in Belgrade, 1 of olive oil, 1 of honey, and 1 of vinegar. It also mentions a special security package that was loaded in Istanbul. Au revoir, monsieur. That will be all, thank you. That will be enough. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
Miss Marceau, I don't mean to be rude, but now is not a convenient time to talk. Ah, Miss Marceau. Could we chat later? Most agreeable to see you, Miss Marceau, but I'm afraid we'll have to postpone the pleasure of a chat until later.
I'd like to take your fingerprints.
That's a rather messy procedure, isn't it? Do you have something I might wipe my hands on afterwards?
I'll have to find something to use. I'll take your fingerprints later.
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
Napkins? A wet cloth was beyond your capabilities? Well, I suppose they will have to do.
Thank you. I'd like those fingerprints now. I have something to clean your hands with.
Napkins? A wet cloth was beyond your capabilities? Well, I suppose they will have to do.
Thank you. Au revoir, monsieur. That will be all. That will be enough. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
Señorita Marceau, I am so sorry, but may we speak later? Could we speak later, señorita? Pardon me, señorita Marceau, but I cannot speak to you now.
I would like to fingerprint you.
I, señorita?
Everyone.
Oh, then, I will submit.
Au revoir, monsieur. That will be all, Pierre. That will be enough, Pierre. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur.
Please forgive me, Mademoiselle Marceau. But might we speak later? Pardon me, Mademoiselle Marceau. Can we speak at another time? 1,000 apologies, Mademoiselle. But may we speak later?
I would like to take your fingerprints.
Of course, Mademoiselle.
Pierre Michel's passport. And an old photograph. I'll just borrow both of them. Oh my, I am looking quite haggard. Detective work and cold weather wreaks havoc on the skin. I should return to my sleeping compartment. I should get to the restaurant car immediately. I should make my way to the salon car. I should go to the baggage car.
Superb, mademoiselle. You do not need to learn the Morse code if you have the book as reference.
I'd like those fingerprints now. I have something to clean your hands with. No, I will not do that. I cannot comply. It is locked. I believe the idea is not to waste the heat on the help, most of whom are residing in that coach. It is an idea that is quite out of date.
Continue the investigation, and do not be afraid to go over the ground you have already covered.
I'd best not get involved in any further discussion. Whatever they are speaking about, it does not concern me. I shouldn't interrupt their conversation at the moment. I see nothing remarkable. I can't see anything of interest. Nothing to see. Au revoir, mademoiselle. Thank you, Mademoiselle Ohlson. That will do for now, Mademoiselle Ohlson. Good day to you, mademoiselle. Good evening, mademoiselle.
Oh, the talk wears me out so. Could we speak later? Oh, please, Mish. I am so distressed. I am not able to talk at the moment. I know nothing, but if you would like to talk later, we can.
I would like to fingerprint you.
But of what am I accused?
Nothing. It's only formality.
Oh, I am sorry. Please fingerprint me.
Most definitely, this is the key to the padlock.
The burnt paper is now sandwiched between the two hat frames. A step in the right direction, but I think I'm missing something. This could certainly lead somewhere, but I fear the idea is not complete. I'm on the right track, but something is missing.
Here you are, mademoiselle. This folder, it may help you keep things organized. No, it is not very large, but it may just do to hold your passports.
The decor has a pronounced floral motif. These etchings are masterful. I would expect nothing less than this exquisite work on the most luxurious train in the world. This is not the time to wander. I must focus on investigating the murder scene and reporting to Poirot. Word must have gotten out. Everyone is speaking in hushed whispers. I must proceed in turn. There will be a time for interrogations, but this isn't it. Someone put the scarlet kimono in my bag. I have all the pieces. All that remains is for me to assemble them properly. Antoinette, you'll scald your hands without some form of protection. The pipe is burning hot. I cannot touch it with bare hands. Touching that pipe would cause severe burns. The steam being released would surely scald my hands without some form of protection. The steam would cause severe burns on my hands. I'll have to think of another way. I can't do that bare-handed. The steam would surely burn me severely. Wonderful. That should hold. At least until we are rescued. Not a bad job, if I do say so myself. This must be where the steam is escaping. It's quite hot, even from a distance. I'd better leave it alone. It seems to be working just fine how it is. Perfect. That will do nicely. Splendid. Au revoir, Monsieur Poirot. Merci, Monsieur Poirot. Thank you most kindly, Monsieur Poirot. Good day to you, Monsieur Poirot. Good evening, Monsieur Poirot.
I do not think that she is in the mood for the conversation. We have learned all we can here. The time for talk, it has passed. I do not think that he is in the mood for the conversation. That is not, I think, such a very good idea. I do not think that to be appropriate. I fear that will not help, mademoiselle. This is neither the time nor is it the place. You should not do that, I think. That does not make sense to Poirot. Et voilà! It seems so obvious in retrospect. Excellent, like the hand in the glove. It appears to be stuck fast. Regardez, mademoiselle. Quite interesting. Formidable. Fantastique. A great pity. Oh, my teeth, they chatter. Try again, mademoiselle. Très intéressant. What is that you say? That is most pleasing. Forgive me, but I do not understand. What could be simpler? Oui, that is how Poirot would have done it. Aucune chance. Ça marche. Une correspondance parfaite.
Au revoir, Monsieur Poirot. Merci, Monsieur Poirot. Thank you most kindly, Monsieur Poirot. Good day to you, Monsieur Poirot. Good evening, Monsieur Poirot. The letter. Now I'd better put Monsieur Poirot's clothes back exactly as I found them. I wouldn't dare. I've disturbed Monsieur Poirot's belongings enough already. I cannot do that. The princess would be very upset. And what if the contents are fragile? I fear I am completely lost. Let me try again from the beginning. I fear that I am completely lost. Let me try again from the beginning. That wasn't right. Now I have to start over. Oh, this is frustrating. I'd better start from the beginning. I am lost. Let me start over. That isn't right. I can feel the resistance. I don't think that's right. I should try a different way. I tried, but it doesn't seem to want to move in that direction. I can't seem to get the piece to move that way. That piece glided smoothly into place. And now to see what was so cleverly guarded. This looks like a puzzle box. Let me see if I can get it open. Again I am lost. Let me start over. There's no power. I'll need to come up with a way to provide it with electricity. The radio has power, but I have no way to communicate through it. I'd better turn it off so as not to drain the battery, at least until I find a solution. I have a makeshift telegraph key, but the radio has no power source. I'll need to come up with a way to provide it with electricity. There, the radio is ready to be used. That will save the cell from draining while I'm not using it. With any luck, that will power the radio, at least for a short time. I suppose that will do as a telegraph key. There's nothing to attach them to yet. I'm on the right track, but I think I need to do something else first. While that item may be useful here, I need to do something else first if I want to avoid making a mess. I have no knowledge of Morse code. I cannot send or receive any messages. I don't know who to contact. I cannot just send random messages out into the ether. The call sign from Monsieur Poirot's letter worked. I'm in contact with Barnaby. I have made contact with Barnaby. There's no power. Au revoir. That will be all. That will be enough. Good day. Good evening. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm quite done yet. Oh, another thing. Before I go, there was something else. I've remembered something else I wanted to say. You did not expect to see me again so soon, did you? Hello. I'm afraid I'm back again. Something has occurred to me since I left you. I'd like to talk to you again, if you don't mind. Well, would you look at that? Quite interesting. Fascinating. The key fit perfectly. The key worked. Well, I never. How rude. Intolerable. That isn't the right combination. I'll have to start over. I think I heard a click. It's open. Au revoir, mademoiselle. Thank you, Mademoiselle Schmidt. That will do for now, Mademoiselle Schmidt. Good day to you, mademoiselle. Good evening, mademoiselle.
We can speak later, no? Pardon me, but I will speak to you later. I am sorry, Fräulein, but I must insist that we speak at another time.
I would like to fingerprint you.
If you must.
I have ordered all of the train doors to the outside to be sealed with the exception of the rear door of the Athens-Paris coach, so that the engineer and the fireman of the train may keep the boiler of the engine provided with the coal.
I'd best follow Monsieur Poirot's wishes in this regard. I think I see where she went. I'll follow her at a distance. I think I see where he went. I'll follow him at a distance. She's fast asleep. No chance of waking her up as long as I'm careful. She's asleep. I shouldn't like to wake her. Although by her breathing, I'd guess that's a difficult thing to do. She's deeply asleep. I'd even hazard to call it the sleep of the just.
To the trained eye, these would appear to be a match most precise. Poirot could see at once that these are the shoes of a man much too small to have made the footprint. Not a precise match, I am afraid.
The snowshoes are now quite usable. I saved the copper wire as well. I need a moment to decide.
Time is of the essence, mademoiselle. Pray do not take too long.
The lamp is now lit. Would you look at that? Aha! Imagine that! Not now. Monsieur Poirot is in the middle of his explanation. That would be rude. I must attend to Monsieur Poirot while he reveals all. Monsieur Poirot would not look favourably upon me interrupting his presentation. I don't normally go about taking everything that isn't tied down, but under the circumstances, I'll return this after I've discerned if it has any bearing on the case at hand. I'll only keep this as long as I need it. I'm no thief. A makeshift telegraph key. I constantly amaze myself. It's a thermometer. The temperature is fine, perhaps just a bit nippy. It's a thermometer. The temperature is well below normal. Something must be done about this. Au revoir, monsieur. That will be all, thank you. That will be enough. Good day, monsieur. Good evening, monsieur. There are no tissues left in the box. Quite modern. The curling tongs have the burnt paper firmly but delicately in their grip. I'm sure I can piece these back together. There, it is complete. I will carefully place it into my scrapbook for further study. I cannot take these towels. They are of too fine a quality to waste on detective work. There must be something else I can use. Easy. It wasn't even locked. The door is unlocked. Aha! It's open. I can't do that. It's a valuable clue. I think not. It's more valuable as a clue. That's not a good idea. It might destroy a clue. Quite beautiful. It's a wonder they didn't topple when the train abruptly stopped. I would expect nothing less than this exquisite work on the most luxurious train in the world. Very nice work. Now that the train has stopped, it's in no danger of falling. Better living through chemistry. Why am I waiting here? I'm wasting valuable time. Standing here isn't helping anything. I should be doing something. The weather looks quite threatening. I wouldn't want to get caught out in that weather. I enjoy winter, but only when I can look out at it from the comfort of a room with a fire crackling in the fireplace. It looks terrible out there.
No, mademoiselle. Try again, please. Use the little gray cells, Mademoiselle Marceau. Can you really think that illustrates my point? Mademoiselle, I realize you have many clues to recall, but this one should be obvious. Please do not embarrass us both. Choose another.
That key doesn't fit the lock. That key doesn't work here. Yes, all right, agreed.